For those of you here in the paddock today and for those of you tuning in live around the world, welcome to Pittsburgh International Race Complex. Overnight rain has hit the racetrack here. It was a wet round of morning warm-ups that has set up damp conditions to start the pre-finals here today for the Steel City Showdown. We are set to go green with KA100 Masters. Myself, Xander Clemens, in the booth. Alongside me, Simon Sykes, as our cameras take you around this phenomenal facility playing host to round 3 of the 2023 Stars Championship Series. We've got Chris Horan, who has had a phenomenal weekend to this point, getting set to lead the field to green for pre-final action. Alongside him, of course, John Bonanno in the comp cart. The fluorescent blue and yellow completes the outside of row number 1. We go further back from there. You'll find the likes of Mark Steele in that Steel Motorsports B-roll art machine. You've got one of the championship contenders in Brian Daniele on that green and white Tony kart. He lines up in the 5th spot. The field rounds out of the bus stop chicane, getting set to go green here today for the first pre-final of the morning as we try to set our grids for main event action later this afternoon. Thank you to everyone in the paddock. Thank you to everyone for tuning in live around the world. Let's put the power down and go racing down to turn number 1.
And heading into turn number 1, side-by-side action coming out on the exit. One driver off, that's the 245 machine of Jacob Neary, getting a little wide, losing 4 or 5 spots out of turn 1. We see a pass into turn 3. The top 2 have cleared themselves out of the field, but it is 3 wide exiting turn 3 as they head towards the double horseshoe here, Xander.
Everyone on rain tires, it looks like, here to start things off for the damp racetrack. No standing water anywhere, but the line is still very, very slippery. So it is changing conditions there. You can see a little bit of the drying line, but not dry enough for slicks just yet. Down the hill we go. Chris Horan, the privateer on the OTK, one of the many Pittsburgh International Race Complex locals, leads us over to turn number 11 as John Bonanno tries to follow. And it's a hybrid line here. This is going to be something similar to dirt track oval racing, where the outside and the inside are probably going to develop over the course of the session as they head towards the bus stop chicane and continue to roll here, getting things underway. So down through the bus stop, we'll put 1 lap on the board. We'll start the timer for this race, and away we are here with Brian Daniele into 3rd. Mark Steele is into 4th. Neary is falling back a little bit. He's 5th. Ryan Castor, the number 2 plate. He's up to 6th with a good start to his session as the field heads down to turn number 3.
And through turn number 3, you're seeing that wide line up here for Chris Horan, already stretching himself out to an early lead. It's working well there. Not running the inside through 3, a little bit tighter through turn 5 as we watch him head through the horseshoe and on up the hill towards turn 10. Already about a 7 kart length gap to John Bonanno out back. A little bit more spaced out than what we saw yesterday. These damp conditions giving everyone a chance to kind of get in there, figure out their carts, figure out the line on these rain tires. It's not the same as the conditions we faced yesterday, and it's every man for himself as they try and set the grid here for the final later today.
They'll make their way out of the double right-hander here, and the field continues to spread apart. Already pulling away is Chris Horan on the Cosmic. The purple, pink, and white machine will lead lap number 2 while the timer continues to tick on down. 10 minutes, 30 seconds, plus 2 laps. There's John Bonanno, top of the screen behind him. Battle forming back for 3rd. Brian Daniele under heavy fire from Mark Steele on the Steel Motorsports B-roll art, headed over to turn number 3. So we've got a challenge continuing to Bud as the field heads through. And again, that's all the way back behind your top 2 drivers. So Chris Horan through turn number 4 continues to lead the way. Behind him again, we watch the rest of the field continue to work its way through the infield section. The gaps at 1.7 seconds from first back to second, 4.5 back to Brian Daniele and Mark Steele in the battle for 3rd. They were nose to tail across the line as Chris Horan drops down into turn number 10.
And as they come through, Chris Horan, like you said, with that 1.7 second advantage last lap, he was a 104.49 to John Bonanno's 105.3, so 9/10 of a second quicker on this opening circuit here, stretching out the advantage. Now John Bonanno not even on your screen. You see Chris Horan using all the track there on exit, dipping his left rear tire just barely in the grass as we see him come down the front straight and complete his 3rd lap. Working through turn number 1 across the Rhino patch. These rain tires, they'll be looking for water anywhere around the track because it is mixed conditions. It's not fully wet here, Xander.
Yeah, the battle for 3rd continues to heat up here between Mark Steele and Brian Daniele. Daniele had Steele right on his tail across the line, but Mark Steele just could not stay close enough through turns 1 and 2 stay and keep applying pressure. So now you can see the gap as we've got a spin, bottom of the screen. That looks to be Kim Carapalati that just went around over at turn number 1. So as Brian Daniele leads the battle for third up the hill to turns 9 and 10, one driver off. There it is as Carapalati gets back going over through turn number 3. Here's a look further back. How about Ryan Kastner? He's fallen back behind Jacob Neary in that 7th spot, got up to 6 on the opening lap. Look at this, back for third. Mark Steele, he was way back. Now he sends a slide job on Brian Daniele, who had went wide, throws in the air, said, hey, sorry if I kind of cut you off there, and Daniele will follow. Little bumper there. They'll go side by side coming out of 12 and 13 with 8 minutes to go. But Mark Steele have been working him over for the past couple of laps on that Steel Motorsports red and white Bureau Art. He'll take over third as they cross the line, finally getting the job done. And Logan Weigel in the red speed behind them, that black and red machine trails as look at the slip and slide action through turn 1 for Mark Steele.
Big correction there for the Bureau Art Kart as he worked through turn number 1, caught a big slide on the apex. This will give Brian Daniele the opportunity to come down the inside. They're side by side exiting turn 3. It's still Mark Steele with the advantage. Some hard but courteous racing here as both drivers with a lot of respect for each other. They work through the horseshoe and back up the hill, and now Mark Steele with a couple kart length advantage, and it will be Logan Weigel going to work on Brian Daniele for that number 4 spot.
Check that out. You can see it on the low shot. Mark Steele is on slicks. The front first, second, and fourth are on the wet tires. So Mark Steele on slicks right now will be the driver to watch lap time-wise. That time he was a little bit slower having to get around. You can see there's still some damp parts of the racetrack. That's why he is slipping and sliding as much as he is. But as this race continues to go on, Mark Steele on slick tires, wet tires there for 4th and 5th of Brian Daniele and Logan Weigel as they battle for P4. We'll keep a tab on what Steele does this time by, but the track continuing to dry up might go the way of Mark Steele. What lap does he put in there? A 104.5. That's 6/10 better than the race leader, who is 8 seconds up the road with 6 minutes plus 2 laps to go. So we've got a dynamic race on our hands here, Simon. Wet tires versus dry tires. It's borderline right now, and it is probably a lot of stress down on the grid for the next couple of classes set to go green here of which compound to go with.
It's been a tough call all year here. We've had a couple of these races before, mixed conditions, drivers opting for slick tires, drivers opting for those wet compound treaded tires, but right now it is the slick tires picking up the pace later into this race. On the early running, Chris Horan with the fastest lap still of the entire race, a 104.2, but that pace has receded to the 105s as those wet tires starting to fall off, and Mark Steele starting to pick up some speed. He's starting to run down John Bonanno in front of him.
You can see top of the screen already through the bus stop is the race leader. Chris Horan trying to get away, like you said, early on the wet tires. Bonanno's wet tires going away. Here comes Mark Steele by Bonanno. Bonanno gives him a little shaka bra going by, say, hey, looks like you might have the right deal, but not through one. Those rhino patches that provide so much grip during the slick conditions are like absolute black ice under when they get wet. So for Mark Steele, turn 1 is probably the worst corner, but then once he gets onto regular pavement, he's good again. So Bonanno back into the spot, and then again this spot as well. Tricky for Mark Steele to get through in the infield. He has to use a lot more curb to get those tires up and off the rhino patches, but now back onto regular asphalt. He'll power right on by Bonanno and retakes the second spot. So awesome battling there. Here's how far ahead Chris Horan is down the road. 7 seconds and counting back to second and third. He's just hoping this timer runs out.
So Xander, last time by, he was back into the 104s, a 104.5, not far off his personal best. He has a 7-second advantage over Mark Steele, but Mark Steele 103.6 last time by. So it's going to be a tough battle here as we come towards the closing stages of this race. 4.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. So we will see. We'll start doing the math, see if Mark Steele has the pace to close on up to Chris Horan out front. Only a 104.5 last time by, but that was with a couple of passes trying to get around John Bonanno. He has successfully cleared him and is working his way towards Chris Horan.
So now the countdown begins. At the moment, you think we have probably more or less about 4 to maybe 5 laps to go. Mark Steele on the slicks, trying to hunt him down and cut down a 7-second margin to go to the lead in the win here. I don't know if many other drivers might have gambled on slick tires. It looks like Ryan Kastner might have been one of them, as last time by he was, he was a little bit off still. It may only have been Mark Steele on the slicks. Everybody else going for the rain tire option, and he definitely struggled in the opening few laps, but a gripped up setup has that Bureau Art rolling here. Look at how much more speed he's got through 12 and 13. Where's your leader? Well, he's still well up the road there, coming out of the bus stop as Steele enters it. this will be a good gauge as Horan clocks in 104.487 for Chris Horan. He's on the normal line there on the reins, but a 102.95 for Mark Steele, nearly 2 seconds better.
And he closed up a second and a half that last time by. Now only a 5.6 second advantage for Chris Horan out front. He stabilized his times in the mid 104 range. Will it be enough to hold off the charging Mark Steele as he starts to work his way through the horseshoe and up the hill? Still over 5.5 seconds, but that massive pace difference could play a factor here at the end of this race. We will see which was the better option. Was it the wet tire? Was it the slick tire? Mark Steele certainly going to have the pace at the end of this race, but will it be enough to make up this gap to P1?
We're going to find out here as they continue to roll. Chris Horan trying to go faster. Again, like you said, he's stabilized at those 104s. He's putting consistent lap times together, but that purple, pink, and white Cosmic is going to get reeled in closer and closer, lap by lap towards the end of this heat race here. It still is drying out. It is still cloudy and overcast. That time, 104.487 again for Chris Horan. It looks like as timing goes through, we're waiting on timing and scoring to update. It's 2 minutes and 20 seconds plus 2 laps left. Steele, 102.5, 104.1 for Chris Horan. Another second and a half lopped off. He's 4 seconds back from the lead as he exits turn 3.
I think this is doable, Xander. He's making up a second and a half a lap, even with Chris Horan putting his best lap of the race in last time by. That 104.1 would be the fastest lap of the race if it were not for Mark Steele on those slick tires in the 102 second range, 102.5 last time by. That gap is going to be enough to catch him. Another deal is trying to get past him.
Yeah, we know that, again, the Rhino Patch is the slippery part of the racetrack, so if he goes to the inside to make a pass, he may struggle still a little bit in certain sectors. Here's Horan coming through as he exits turn 13 and heads to the bus stop. There's Mark Steele. A lap ago, he was fully clear of the bus stop. Now he's only halfway through it as the beer alert rolls through. What's the lap time going to look like this time by? I'd say probably 2.5 seconds away. It is a 102.45 to a 104.5. That's a 2-second gain, 1.9 seconds back for Mark Steele as he continues to charge with a minute plus 2 laps to go. This is going to go all the way down to the wire, Simon.
And it looks like these slick tires are worth about 2 seconds a lap here in the closing stages of this race. Mark Steele certainly making the most of those tires as he may have made the right call here, Xander, with the rest of the field going out on wet tires. Mark Steele doing the opposite, putting on those slick tires, and it is starting to pay dividends here.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good here for Mark Steele on the Steel Motorsports red and white Beryl Art. There he is closing in. Already going to get there by the time we get to the 2-to-go signal. There's lap traffic up the road. Look how much quicker he's able to attack the corners than Chris Horan. Horan not even going to fight it. He'll let him go into 12 and 13. Mark Steele to the lead as they come to 20 seconds plus 2 laps to go. Will we get the 2-to-go signal this time? Let's find out.
And that's one thing I love about these master classes. The racing's so respectful and courteous. Chris Horan, knowing he had no chance to fend off the charging Mark Steele, just going to wave him on through. None of the crazy fighting action we'll see from more of the junior classes of racing. These drivers well experienced and knowing what's what out there. Chris Horan, recognizing Mark Steele had the faster kart, made the right decision on tires, and is going to let him walk away to this win possibly. Just a couple more laps here for Mark Steele to close it out, and Chris Horan with a healthy advantage over third place. They're out 14 seconds from their nearest competition.
Yeah, big gap for Chris Horan and Mark Steele. Again, like you said, 14 seconds. I do believe Mark Steele was the only driver to go on those slick tires. Scott Carapolati might be the other one. He's put together a couple of good laps, charging up from outside the top 10 to 7th. So he might be able to get to Brian Daniele by the end. It'd be a long shot, though. You need a lot of seconds. We're coming to 2 laps to go. There they get by the lap traffic of Kevin Simonelik on the TB kart. Here we are through the bus stop, though, for Mark Steele down the front straightaway towards turn number 1. 2 to go for the Canadian. 102 flat for Mark Steele as the track gets faster. So now go in the way of the slick tires, just barely, about a 2-second advantage over the wets as Horan clocks in at a 104 flat. Mark Steele with the gamble of the day, getting himself up from the middle of the top 10 to the lead and setting himself up for a pole position starting spot in that main event.
This track's definitely still not perfectly dry. A 102.0 while fast, still not the pace we're seeing from them in fully dry conditions. So still a mixed condition race where it just so happens that these slick tires are working very well for Mark Steele on that 234 Beryl Art machine out front. Now to a 2-second advantage over Horan, who now enjoys a 15-second lead over third place of John Bonanno.
While we watch Mark Steele come to the white flag, I'd love to see if we could take a look at the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th coming together. That's Jacob Neary, Brian Daniele. They're 25 seconds back. Here is Daniele, and onto the bumper of him. That's the 270, or that's John Bonanno. Sorry, this is the battle for third. Bonanno has been reeled in by the 276 of Logan Weigel. Weigel to the inside. They're both on the wet tires. Weigel's going to get around him as Bonanno lets him go. So move Logan Weigel through on John Bonanno through the bus stop, and with a white flag in the air, he'll take over third. Jacob Neary, Brian Daniele are close together as well, with Scott Carapalati closing in as the field heads through turn number 1 for the battle for P3. And this is only about 6 to 7 seconds up the road from 5th, 6th, and 7th. Neary, Daniele, and then Scott Carapalati, who was 4 seconds better last time by. So third might be sorted. If we go back to about turn number 3, we should be able to find 5th and 6th and 7th if we can. We'll watch as the third place battle continues to roll up the hill. There's a look at the leader, though. Mark Steele going to cruise to victory as he goes to the bus stop. Mark Steele on the Steele Motorsports Beryl Art will cross the line for the checkers. He wins the pre-final in K100 Masters. Now let's see if we can find those other battles on the back section of the racetrack coming through the hairpin. Here's a look at it. Scott Carapalati's gotten around Brian Daniele for 6th. He's trying to get up to Jacob Neary. Might just come up a couple corners shy. On the slick tires as well for Scott Carapalati. Look at this battle back here. That's Kim Carapalati. He also went on slicks. He's caught up to Ryan Kastner and Brant Estes. He's got around Estes. Now he's closing to Kastner through 12 and 13. This is all the way in the battle for 8th. He's going to have the run. He'll be faster on the straightaway. And there he goes on the inside and clear for Kim Carapalati. A spin that took him all the way to the tail. He drives his way to pick up 2 more spots on this final lap and end up in 8th.
What a race there we saw in mixed conditions. Scott Carapalati on that last lap making his way by Brian Daniele. That 216 machine also going out on those slick tires. Not able to find the pace early, but ultimately comes up with the fastest lap of the race, a 101.940 on that second to last lap. Beats out Mark Steele's best lap of the race. So a lot of speed out of the 216 machine.
Well, that wraps it up here for K100 Masters. Paul Montepoli and Kevin Simonelli go by. There's a look at the continually drying surface. You see the lighter part of the asphalt. That is the slowly drying racetrack. And the darker part, that's still the damp portion. So the general racing line getting better, but as Simon said, still going to be a slippery surface for everyone, especially right there on those all-black rhino patches on the inside of the majority of the apexes here at Pitt Race. This is going to be interesting through the next couple of sessions in the morning. We are just getting started for the Steel City Showdown here at Pittsburgh International Race Complex. You're watching Kart Chasers coverage of the Stars Championship Series. Don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, it's Dave here from Kart Class. We're at MCC, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. We're here to show you guys the fastest way to drive this almost 1 mile circuit. It offers both fast sweeping corners, some fast chicanes, and a technical switchback that leads into a long main straight. Let's find out where to brake, where to accelerate, and where the best places to overtake. So let's get stuck into it.
And welcome back live to Pittsburgh International Race Complex for the Steel City Showdown. It's time to go racing for the Micro Swift category. We just saw a nice mixed conditions race in the KA Masters where some drivers opted for rain tires, actually most of the field, and then a couple went out on those slick tires. Mark Steele eventually coming away with the win. But we'll set up here for our Micro Swift category, and after watching that race, I'd be surprised if most of the field does not go out on slick tires. Joining me in the booth, my name is Simon Sykes. I'm here with Alexander Searle, who's going to take you through the starting lineup.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. First of all, like you said, surprised if anybody went out on the rains. I was down on the grid. A lot of drivers showed up on rain tires, and as Mark Steele's tires came into play, everybody changed on the slick tires. There's nobody on the rains right now in this class. Starting lineup, we're going to have Colton Schniegenberg on pole position, clean sweep from yesterday. Emerson Lane outside of row 1, Jake Manalio and Cade Wolf rounding out row 2. Lawrence Perriman, Anthony Mazzucolo in row 3. Christopher Lavoie and Daniel Garra row 4. Bryson Scales, Easton Kubinski, row 5, Riley Dobelier, and Griffin Vukic, row 6, Austin Taylor, Drake Williamson in row 7, Sterling Mulata and Ari Aberhart in row 8, George Zeminski and Liat Simonelik in row 9, and rounding out your final row, Caleb Smith and Benjamin Moyer as they get ready to take the green here, slow and steady to the start line here, and we are green here for the Micro Swift pre-final. Schniegenberg with a great start, but they are sideways through turn 1 here, and Schniegenberg is around in front of the field. Oh, and it takes out a bunch of go-karts here. Who gets away unscathed? Oh, I think that is, who is that? Is that one of the Lando Norris go-karts? It is.
And we just saw a kart flying off the exit of turn 3, several losing it. Coming into turn 3, 4 karts off. So chaos to start this Micro Swift final. You just saw your leader heading into turn 1, Colton Schniegenberg, looped it around in front of the field, causing massive chaos. And then the driver's not able to hold it into the brake zone in turn 3. We're seeing some of the drivers come out on these rain tires where we saw the slick tires made the most sense last session. So a couple of drivers not able to get it fired off quite the way they want to. We'll keep track of the chaos as they continue to roll through the Lando Norris kart out front. We will keep track. A lot of battles happening through turn 12 as we see several drivers going too wide through the back section of this track here, Alex.
Yeah, absolute chaos here in the Micro Swift start of the pre-final. Drivers struggling to get up to grips here with these slick tires. Slicks, like we know, is the fastest tire to be on, as Lawrence Perriman finds himself in the first place on the Lando Norris go-kart. I believe he started outside your top 5, so what a start for him. Cade Wolf escapes the fray as well to be in P2. Daniel Garra on 3rd. Where is Schniegenberg? Schniegenberg somehow still in 5th after spinning in front of the entire field, but he is 4 seconds off the lead here. Let's see if we can get those slick tires fired up.
A nice recovery for Schniegenberg as you see him go by 2 drivers right there. He'll make his way up to 3rd spot already. An impressive recovery for the driver who started on pole but fell short in turn 1. However, it is Lawrence Perriman out to a 2.5-second advantage early in this race. He's going to enjoy this one, I'm sure. He's just got to hold on for 10 minutes plus 2 laps, and he will lead your field off to the final, but it's not over yet. The fastest man we've seen all weekend, Colton Schniegenberg, in this Micro Swift category, already back up into P3 and working on hunting down Cade Wolf there in that number 54 machine just ahead of him in the bus stop.
Yeah, Colton Schniegenberg is absolutely flying right now. If you look at the way that go-kart is handling, it would seem like it's a dry racetrack for him. Let's see it. He's crossed the line. He goes purple to 104.301. But Cade Wolf, he has lost a second now to the guys behind him here. We're going to have a battle here in a few laps.
Yeah, the entire top 3 running quick times. Lawrence Perriman, the slowest of the 3. The other 2, Cade Wolf and Colton Schniegenberg, 104.3 last time by. Farther back, it was in the 106s behind them. So this could be a 3-way fight to the end throughout this race. Still a long way to go, but we watched Lawrence Perriman come down the hill, and you can already see Cade Wolf starting to close up from behind.
Yeah, I mean, these are tough conditions for these guys to be on. I mean, like we saw in the KA Masters, guys, they're experienced drivers, and even they were struggling there on the slick tires. These kids have no idea what the conditions are and what to expect. Their matches were
only a couple kart links back from your leader in that number 28, Lawrence Perriman, getting hunted down and just in the back of the screen. Colton Schniegenberg also with a lot of pace, the fastest driver of the race so far. But it is the battle at the front we're going to focus on right now.
Yeah, here comes the comp cart of Cade Wolf as they enter the bus stop all over the bumper of Lawrence Perriman. Rounding the final corner here, I'd be surprised if we don't see him move into 1, but he has to be careful because we saw, like in KA Masters, Mark Steele It went a little bit wide when he went for a pass for second there, and Cade Wolf thought better of it, didn't go for the move into turn 1. So Perriman holds on to fight for another corner here, up the hill into 3, inside Cade Wolf, slide job. Oh, hits the side pod there of Lawrence Perriman, couldn't make it stick. And here comes Schniegerberg to the bumper now. It is a 3-car battle for Micro Swift.
Wow, that was a massive slide and recovery from Cade Wolf as he continues to go to work on Lawrence Perriman, and Colton Schniegerberg has arrived on the scene. Cade Wolf trying to make that move happen in turn 3, gets in deep, gets it sideways, and somehow keeps control of that cart as the top 3 are out all nose to tail heading down the hill through turn 10. Lawrence Perriman still your leader, Cade Wolf and Colton Schniegerberg on the scene and ready to attack.
I mean, here's the predicament these guys are in right now, right? Like we saw from Cade Wolf. I think it's almost better for Perriman to do the normal racing line. I mean, it seems to me that there is no grip anywhere else right now. Cade Wolf went for the move on the inside. Normally a pretty easy move to make into 3. Couldn't make it stick because of how wet it is everywhere else around this racetrack right now, or at least slick, should I say. And so right now you're going to see Wolf to the inside here into 1. Let's see if he can make it stick this time through turn 1 here. Oh, pushes Perriman wide, and Wolf is through to the lead, and Schniegerberg follows suit here.
And Perriman's going to lose 2 spots out of that one as both Cade Wolf and Colton Schniegenberg take off to the lead. And you see just a little bit of lap traffic right in front of him. He's going to actually get in the way just a little bit. I thought he was getting out of the way, but that cart causing chaos for the top 3 here. Lap carts in the way as the top 3 trying to work their way through. Cade Wolf going to make it through all 3, make it past cleanly. Still Colton Schniegenberg in second. Lawrence Perriman reeling them back down. Like you talked about, there's no grip anywhere offline. That dry line you see forming on the track, that's the only place where the grip is. Everywhere else is still slick, still a bit damp, and it's tough for these drivers to get the grip elsewhere on the track. As you see Cade Wolf running all the way to the edge of the track there. Colton Schniegenberg with a bit of a tighter line, but all 3 drivers still in your frame as the fight for the lead continues.
Yeah, exiting 12 through the bus stop now in the final corner. Schniegenberg gets a really good run here on Cade Wolf. Down the front stretch. Does he make a move into 1, or does he sit back? He sits back and wants to follow Cade Wolf for another lap here. I got to say, Lawrence Perriman has done a great job here to, stick to the bumper here of these 2 guys who seemingly were quicker. As Schniegenberg to the inside of 3. Doesn't do what Cade Wolf did. He makes a stick, and Perriman is going to follow Schniegenberg through. Does he go to second? He does. So Colton Schniegenberg to the lead, and Lawrence Perriman on the Lando Norris cart back to P2.
An excellent move from the young driver there. Lawrence Perriman coming from 3rd. Will slot his way back into that second position ahead of Cade Wolf as Colton Schniegenberg takes the lead. Lawrence Perriman not with the most pace to start this race. He quickly got hunted down by the 2 drivers also in frame there, but he is holding on excellently right now as we still have a 3-way battle for the lead with just under 5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining.
Yeah, Lawrence Perriman is seeming to fire those tires up now. He is back in the mix for this pre-final victory in Micro Swift, but Schniegenberg has opened up a gap, exiting 12. What a run out of that corner he got. And Cade Wolf is now to the bumper of Lawrence Perriman. Does he go for moving to 1, or is he going to push him up to Schniegenberg? He's going to push him up to Colton Schniegenberg. It is still bumper to bumper here for the lead in Micro Swift. And I got to say, Emerson Lane in the background is the quickest guy on the racetrack. A 102.795 versus 103.3s for your leaders. So Emerson Lane, fastest cart on the racetrack. We might have a 4-cart breakaway here with 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go.
Yeah, you can see him well into the frame there now, only a couple of seconds back on track, and as these top 3 continue to fight, that's going to drag Emerson Lane back into this battle. Behind them, it's another 4-second gap out to the driver of Danny O'Gara in that 5th spot, but it is the top 3 we are still focused on as they continue to work their way through turn 11 and 12. There is the man, the 50 machine of Emerson Lane in that Trinity karting group cart as he works through turn 12 and starts to run down these leaders. Like you said, he was a half-second faster than the leader last time by. He is closing this gap rapidly, especially if they continue to fight out front.
Yeah, let's see the lap times this time by here. Schniegenberg at a 102.8. Emerson Lane 102.9, but he was still 0.3 faster as we have caught a bunch of lap traffic here. That's going to hold these 3 drivers up. Let's see if Emerson Lane can get around them cleanly. Oh, I think he wasn't able to get around one of them there, so that's going to hold him up a little bit. But Schniegenberg was able to do a good job getting around the lap traffic here. It's still a 3-car breakaway up front. Lawrence Perriman, Cade Wolf, holding to the bumper there of Colton Schniegenberg. Let's see if we can get a follow on Emerson Lane. I think he got held up just a little bit there in turn 3. He did. He definitely lost ground to these 3.
Just a little bit, though. The top three certainly working their way through lap traffic a bit easier than Emerson Lane, but Emerson Lane able to get both of those karts into turn 3, will clear them and set his sights on Cade Wolf in that third position right now as we continue to work through the back section of this track. 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. It's still Colton Schniegenberg who swept all of the action today or yesterday. Coming into today hot, rough start. He is the one who spun off of turn 1, had that big incident, crashed in front of the field, managed to recover, only fell back to P5, quickly worked his way back up to P3, and then hunted down the lead as you saw the top 3 coming by all still nose to tail. Cade Wolf, fastest of the race last time by, a 102.6. That will bring him closer to Colton Schniegenberg, only a 102.9 last time by, and they are now out to a 3-second advantage over Emerson Lane, who, due to lap traffic, only a 103.9 last time by.
Yeah, Cade Wolf is driving a really, really smart race. He, twice this race he's gone for a pass and slid up the racetrack a little bit, so he figures he might as well push Lawrence Perriman up to the front and maybe hope that Lawrence goes for a pass on Schniegenberg, and he's the one that slides into him, and he can, take advantage of both of them. Right now, Cade Wolf is he's fine with pushing Lawrence Perriman. Like you said, last time by a 102.6, went purple. Perriman was also faster than Schniegenberg, and like you said with Emerson Lane, with the traffic, didn't put the lap that he would have wanted, but it seems to me a much better lap for Emerson Lane here. Schniegenberg, he seems to get really good runs out of turn 12 and through the bus stop. He has pulled away now down the front stretch. He was 3 4/10 faster than the guys behind him, but Emerson Lane, fastest car on the racetrack once again, 2/10 quicker than your leader. Cade Wolf still pushing Lawrence Perriman at the front.
And as we see the battle starting to heat up for that P2 position as Colton Schniegenberg starts to extend his advantage, it is Lawrence Perriman coming under attack from Cade Wolf. Cade Wolf probably going to be looking to make a move soon if they can't close that gap to the leader anymore. They work the top of the hill. You see that dry line fully in effect now. Cade Wolf still pushing Lawrence Perriman over the hill as they come down through turn 10, through that rhino patch, that slick patch of pavement when it is wet. It's a lot of grip in the dry, and not so much when it gets moist out here, but it is Colton Schniegenberg on your screen as he works through turn 12. Lawrence Perriman is Cade Wolf still hooked nose to tail as they will work through the bus stop, and it'll be 3 to go this time by.
Yeah, like you said, 3 to go. Schniegenberg has extended his advantage over the 2 behind him, and Cade Wolf knows it. Wolf to the inside of Lawrence Perriman. Oh, and there's contact, and there's a half spin into 1 for Cade Wolf. He's going to lose a spot now to Emerson Lane, and Cade Wolf was driving such a good race behind Lawrence Perriman, goes for the move and slides into his right rear tire there. Good save for him to only lose 1 spot, but unfortunate there for the comp car driver.
Yeah, that was it almost worked, but like we said, it's really slick on that rhino patch. I just mentioned it a half lap ago. When you get into turn 1, the apex of that corner covered by that rhino patch, he got into the brakes a little bit hot, lost the card on entry, managed to save it, but it was a half spin, and it cost him a lot of momentum, allowed Emerson Lane to slip his way into that 3rd position. So move Cade Wolf back to 4th. A lot of pace for that 54 kart this race, but not a lot of luck getting past these drivers.
Yeah, Colton Schniegenberg there on your screen, rounding the final corner to get 2 to go. That half spin with Lawrence Perriman, that's going to extend his advantage even more now. It's going to be over a second, 1.7 seconds now to the driver in 2nd place there. So Colton Schniegenberg, barring a commentator curse here, is going to hopefully get this pre-final victory here, but Lawrence Perriman now has a 2-second advantage over the driver in 3rd, Emerson Lane, and Cade Wolf has fallen back to 4th. Let's see if he can maybe close the gap to Emerson Lane, only half second back.
Yeah, and last time by Colton Schniegenberg with the fastest lap of the race, a 102.3 to Lawrence Perriman's 103.2. Emerson Lane also with a solid lap into the 102s, a 102.6 for that driver in the number 50 Trinity Karting Group machine as he worked past Cade Wolf and now sets his sight on Lawrence Perriman. He was quicker by about a half second, but it might not be enough with a 2-second advantage to close down. There you see Cade Wolf and you see Emerson Lane on your screen. They're working through turn 12. It was 2 to go last time by. It will be white flag on this lap as they work through the bus stop, Alex.
Yeah, here comes Cade Wolf to the bumper now of Emerson Lane. Is he going to make a move into 1? He is. Hopefully no half spin this time. He's through, but he's going to go wide. Cade Wolf went to the inside of Emerson Lane, couldn't make it stick, and goes wide. I mean, it's just so difficult to pass out there right now, Simon.
Yeah, the inside move not working well for the number 54 kart of Cade Wolf. He's tried a couple of moves this race, not successful with just about any of them. Unfortunate for the 54 because he's had such a large amount of pace this entire week. And as we see, look at that, Emerson Lane working the rear bumper of Lawrence Pierman. He's caught him on the last lap. White flag, only a couple of corner lefts. Colton Schniegenberg well out to an advantage, but the battle for P2 raging on as, look at that, it is Lawrence Pierman getting hunted down, Emerson Lane all over that rear bumper, and Cade Wolf in your shot as well. And last corner, turn 12, they'll come through. They are lined up to the inside looking. Emerson Lane, he will go for it. They'll make contact into the bus stop. And unfortunate there as they come through, and it will be Colton Schniegenberg over Lawrence Pierman, Emerson Lane coming home P3, and Cade Wolf, just not a lot of luck, a lot of pace. He had the fastest lap of the race. You pointed out to me last lap, 102.1 for the 54 machine, the fastest kart on track, just not a lot of luck getting those moves done.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, Lawrence Pierman and Emerson Lane getting together there in the bus stop. Very lucky that didn't end up in tears there for one of them. Emerson Lane, good save to not end up in the grass and only, stay in the third place, should I say. But Schniegenberg, what a dominating performance he put on here to keep his clean sweep alive here for the weekend. Lawrence Pierman with an amazing run to PP2. Emerson Lane, good run to P3. And Cade Wolf, like you said, maybe the fastest car on the racetrack for most of that race, but just couldn't put the moves together when it mattered. Finishes fourth. Jake Manalio, good comeback drive for him to finish in fifth. And that's going to be your Microswift top 5 of the pre-final.
That was an amazing race from start to finish. Your leader off the start, unfortunately, losing it into turn 1. He'll make the recovery, come back to win. And just what a race in these mixed conditions. Always our favorite type of racing here. A lot of chaos, a lot of mixed action. We're going to pull the results up real quick and run you through that finishing order. Colton Schniegenberg coming away with the victory over Lawrence Pierman. Emerson Lane coming home third. Cade Wolf fourth. Jake Manilio rounds out your top 5. Behind that, it was Sterling Mulata, Danny O'Gara, Anthony Mazzuculo, Austin Taylor, and Caleb Smith made up your top 10. Behind that, and Caleb Smith made up 9 spots that race, as well as Sterling Mulata. So big moves for a couple of drivers inside the top 10. Farther back, it was Griffin Vukic in P11, Bryson Scales P12, George Zeminski P13, Riley Dobelier P14, Christopher Lavoie top 15, Ari Eberhardt, Leon Simonellik, Benjamin Moyer, Drake Williamson, and Easton Kubinski rounds out your top 20 in the finishing order of this Microswift category. Up next, it will be your Pro Rock Masters. The Gearbox Karts taking their first pre-final of the day. You've been watching live coverage on Kart Chaser. Don't go anywhere. And here we continue live at the Pittsburgh International Race Complex. It will be the first of the gearbox classes taking to the track. Pro Masters and Rock Shifter Masters on track for their pre-final. A lot of talking points from yesterday coming into today. Evan Batt leading off the field, but Matt Machiko and Joe Ruck showed a lot of pace yesterday. Unfortunate breaks, one in each of the pre-finals for those two drivers who I think each took a race victory yesterday. The 6:28 of Matt Machiko coming off a little bit better than Joe Ruck, who had the mechanical early in Heat 1 yesterday, but not the fastest drivers. Always at the front, we see a few of our top contenders starting farther down the order, as you see the standing shot and the karts getting ready to take to the track here in a couple of moments, Alex.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, two fastest guys on the racetrack yesterday were Matt Machiko and Joe Ruck. They're starting 5th and 7th. Matt Machiko won the first heat after Joe Ruck had a clutch issue, couldn't keep going in that first heat. Second heat, Matt Machiko made a mistake going down the hill and lost it all on his own, and Joe Ruck was able to win that one. But like you said, because each of them had issues in respective heats, that puts Evan Batt starting on pole position here for the Pro Rock Masterclass. Justin Kelly outside of row 1. Brad Danoff in starting 3rd. Michael Rivera of P4. Matt Machiko in 5th. Robert Feig in 6th. Joe Ruck, your championship winner from last year, in 7th. Cody Beck in 8th. Frank Rucko in 9th. Tiffany Kelly rounding out row 5. Ryan Frank and Michael Gouache in row 6. And rounding out your 7th and final row, Hugh Templeman and Ryan Estep. To me, the biggest talking point, Simon, is going to be which side of the grid is going to be the one that gets the launch. Yeah,
the whole shot, very important in these gearbox classes. Coming from a standing start, it's who gets the jump into turn 1. Will it be the inside lane? Will it be the outside lane? We've seen a couple of different variations already this weekend. And in these mixed conditions, where's that dry line at? That's going to be the big key to this.
Yeah, I think the outside lane is going to be the way to go. I think you want to be, in the even numbers. I think 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 8th. I think they're going to be the one that get the jump. I mean, unless I'm completely wrong here, I'd be shocked if the inside lane goes. From what we've seen in the races and how hard it is to pass, I can't believe it'll be easy to launch.
Yeah, we can make all the guesses we want up here, but we're just going to have to wait and see as the karts round the bus stop through the final couple of corners and get set into the tram lines to get going for Pro Masters and Rock Shifter Masters in their pre-final. You can see that dry line coming out of the last corner forming on the outside line, so the driver's on the inside line, not on a fully dry track. Like you said, that outside line may be the way to go, but who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm super intrigued here. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I mean, Evan Batt probably feels like he'd rather be on the outside right now. You can see he was on the outside for as long as he could, but they told him to be on the inside there. Obviously, no choose cone here, so they have to start on the inside. Here we go. We're getting ready to go green here. We're about to find out which lane is better, inside or outside. The lights are on, and away we go here, and it's a good start for the outside row. Oh, I think Evan Batt's going to just hold off here. The inside lane went better than I thought. There's a good start for Evan Batt. What a start. The inside lane had enough grip.
Yeah, he made it work into turn 1. He was getting a little bit sideways in the corner. Really had to get that kart stopped on the apex. And problems for the number 2 plate. That will be Robert Feig. Unfortunate break early in this race. We saw a lot of accidents in the Micro Swift pre-final on the first lap. Only one driver falling short so far. But heartbreak for the number 2 plate of Robert Feig starting in P6. He'll lose out in the pre-final. Have to come all the way from the back in the final. But the early lead going to Evan Batt over Justin Kelly as they take off on this field.
Evan Batt out front already has a pretty hefty lead over Justin Kelly there. Where is Matt Machiko and Joe Ruck? They crossed line 6th and 7th. Machiko already had lost a spot before the start-finish line, so not the start he would have wanted here. Justin Kelly P2. Joe Ruck has already found himself into P4. He's about to make, yes, Joe Ruck to 4th on his teammate there, Brad Danoff. So what a start from Ruck from 7th to 4th. And Matt Machiko, he's fallen back to P12.
Wow, that is a big loss for Matt Machiko. Not sure what happened on the opening lap for that driver. One of the fastest all week, and he qualified on pole. A tough break in that second heat, but running this far back, he's going to have his work really cut out for the final later today. Up front, Evan Batt and Justin Kelly hold the lead over our top of the Rock Masters drivers, the subcategory within this Masters gearbox class. It is Michael Rivera in that 522 machine, currently in P3. We've got the top two out to a nice advantage. Then you see him come through in the line of karts behind him as we still see the fighting continue on between two of the Maranello karts working through turn 12.
A pretty impressive lap here from Justin Kelly. I think he's going to go purple. Yes, 55, 1, 2, 3, 2/10 quicker than Evan Batt, quicker than Joe Ruck. Joe Ruck only a 56 flat, so not as quick as we would have expected there from Joe Ruck, who was making a pretty big headway on those first couple of laps there. But Justin Kelly right now, fastest kart on the racetrack. He's going to close the gap even more to Evan Batt here. There's Joe Ruck on the bumper now of Michael Rivera. So Joe Ruck should be able to get around Michael Rivera. Like you said, he's in the Rock Masters class, so the subdivision to the KZ Master class, but still Joe Ruck not as quick as I would have expected in this opening stage.
And as you see them work down through turn 10 down the hill over that Rhino patch on your screen, Justin Kelly in that factory Maranello kart coming around turn number 11. He'll work through turn 12. He currently sits P2, just a bit quicker than your leader by about 2/10 last time by. We'll see the battle start to close up just a little bit as they are within a second of each other already. As we move a little bit farther back, the battle raging on for P3. Michael Rivera still holds that position over a charging Joe Ruck. Joe Ruck quick 55.0 last time by to Michael Rivera's 55.3. Maybe looking for a move in 3. He's not going to go for it quite yet, but the two different engines showing their power in different ways here as they work through the horseshoe. Joe Ruck all over that rear bumper of Michael Rivera.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think it must be lingering on their minds. They were watching the races prior to this. They know how hard it is to pass around this racetrack. I mean, you can see the dry line forming. It's there. The problem is there is no other line as Joe Ruck to the inside, pushes Rivera wide. Rivera lets him have it. Joe Ruck now to P3, so made it look pretty easy. It didn't seem to be too slick on the inside of the racetrack there. And now you see Joe Ruck's teammate Brad Danoff trying to get in on the action here, trying to get around Michael Rivera as quickly as possible. And Joe Ruck wants to make headway now in those top two. And you can see up front, Justin Kelly has closed the gap even more. It was 8/10 last time by, 3/10 this time by, 5/10 faster, 54.135. By far the fastest car on the racetrack is the Maranello of Justin Kelly.
And that fight for the lead starting to heat up. Joe Ruck cleared his way into P3. One of the drivers who had that issue yesterday, the other who we said had a rough start to this race, Matt Machiko, had worked his way up into P10. An issue on that last lap will drop him a bit farther back, but he had the fastest time in the race until Justin Kelly clicked off that lap. So Matt Machiko, a tough break as he will drop even farther down as we continue on this fight for the lead. It's still Evan Batt over Justin Kelly as they work through turn number 12. Justin Kelly with a little bit more pace than Evan Batt as he closes up to that rear bumper of the 604 machine. They'll work through the bus stop, completing their lap number 5. Still 7.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining in this pre-final, so plenty of time to get this move done here, Alex.
Yeah, Evan Batt has answered the call there at a 54.3, so 3/10 quicker than Justin Kelly. But nobody quicker than Joe Ruck right now, 54.132. The problem that Joe Ruck has, he's 3.5 seconds back from your leaders. It's going to take a miracle, but 7 minutes plus 2 laps, anything can happen here, especially if the top two start racing. Justin Kelly has shown that as at this stage in the race, seems to have more pace than Evan Batt right now. Joe Ruck, quickest guy on the racetrack, and like you said with Matt Machiko, I mean, really unfortunate for him. This race has not gone the way he would have wanted. So has Robert Feig. Robert Feig's also been very, very quick, you know, as a consolation prize for being in the grass, unfortunately, there early on in the race. But back up front, there's Joe Ruck. Let's see, it was 3.4 seconds last time by as he rounds turn 12 and through the bus stop. It looks to be a little bit closer than it was last time by. Justin Kelly also has closed the gap a little bit, 6/10 last time by. As they cross the line, he goes purple, 53.9. It is 4/10, but Joe Ruck answers the call, 53.7. He goes purple.
Yeah, Joe Ruck with the fastest man on track on your screen right now, that reigning champion of the series in the number 1 plate, putting the lap times down here on lap number 6. And one thing I want to touch on, it's going to be Justin Kelly with his work cut out for him. He's been just a little bit quicker than Evan Batt pretty consistently, but with the mixed conditions track, these karts already pretty hard to pass in. Just a little bit of aero wash, a little bit of the faster categories makes the passing tough, especially when you bring in this mixed conditions and a singular dry line on the track. So Justin Kelly all over the rear bumper of Evan Batt, but not much to do with it as of yet.
Yeah, like you said, Justin Kelly, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to make a pass in a class that's already difficult to pass in. So rounding the final corner here, he's really close to the bumper now of Evan Batt. Justin Kelly, 53.8, 3/10 quicker than Evan Batt. He can smell him at this point. Less than a kart length up to turn 3. Does he make a move there? No, he doesn't. Evan Batt holds on to fight for another corner. He's to the bumper now. Does he make a move into 4 and 5? No, he doesn't. Like we were talking about, it's really difficult to make a move right now with only one dry line. You have to calculate it properly.
Yeah, we saw Cade Wolf in that last pre-final going for a lot of inside moves, and just about none of them worked out because of how slick it was down the inside of this track. But in this faster category, it's going to be even tougher as Justin Kelly certainly showing the pace to lead this race, but not able to find a way around the 604 machine that currently leads. Evan Batt rounding turn number 12. He'll head towards the bus stop with 5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. He holds the advantage, but for how long? And Joe Ruck still 3 seconds back, but closing just a little bit every single time he crosses the line. If these two fight, like you mentioned earlier, it could bring Joe Ruck into this fight for the win.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to see where exactly Justin Kelly's quicker and where Evan Batt's quicker. It seems to me in this part of the racetrack, in the infield, Evan Batt is just a little bit quicker than Justin Kelly. Justin Kelly seems to be quicker in the faster corners, maybe has more grip in the go-kart, more confidence in the kart. But through this infield, Evan Batt's able to just pull away enough to where Kelly can make a move. Here, Kelly's the closest he's been as they go down the hill. Does he peek a nose in? No, he doesn't. It's really difficult to make a move there, especially with how slick it's been on the inside. Evan Batt still holds on here. Justin Kelly through turn 11 there, and now rounding turn 12. Close enough now. This is the closest we've seen him exiting 12 and through the bus stop. We might see a move down to turn 1.
Yeah, he's certainly closed as much as he has so far this race. Over the course of the last lap, it's about a kart length difference between the top two as they head into turn 1. It was a 54.0 for all of the top 3 drivers last time by. 2.7 seconds back for Joe Ruck of this fight. So he's not quite in the conversation yet. It is all Justin Kelly and Evan Batt out front, as Justin Kelly all over the rear bumper still, as he has been for the past 4 laps, it seems.
Yeah, I don't know if Evan Batt was trying something or if he just made a mistake there. He clobbered the curb exiting turn 3 there. Maybe he was just trying a different line, but I think it was just a mistake there on his part, but didn't seem to hurt him too much. Justin Kelly still trying to find a way around him. Oh, I thought he was going to peek a nose there in the turn 10 or 11, sorry, and now through 12. Justin Kelly trying to find any way possible to get around Evan Batt. Right now, the Maranello kart is definitely quicker than him, but just can't make a move through the bus stop. Is single file through here, can't make a move in there. Through the final corner, Justin Kelly has a really good run down the front straight. Does he peek a nose? Yes, he does. Oh, Evan Batt, good defense there. And Justin Kelly gets a little sideways there. Shows you still how slick it is.
Yeah, down the inside. He looked for the move, still held the inside, but not quite committing to go for the pass. He found himself sliding across the apex, finding that slick rhino patch in the middle of turn 1. They'll come through the double horseshoe as Evan Batt still holds this advantage. Justin Kelly not letting up the pressure one bit with 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. It's going to go all the way down to the wire here in Pro Masters.
Yeah, this is like, I feel like I'm watching, Groundhog Day, right? It's just the same thing over and over again. The gap has remained the same for the last 4 to 5 laps. Justin Kelly trying to find a way around Evan Batt. Can't make it happen here through turn 12. The same gap that we saw the last lap through the single file bus stop here. Justin Kelly needs to time this run right through the final corner. Evan Batt got a pretty good launch there. Not going to be enough for Justin Kelly through turn 1 unless he just makes a dive bomb. I will say the one thing with Evan Batt that I've noticed, every lap he has put down personal best. So his kart is just increasingly getting better and better. Justin Kelly's has remained the same, right? His lap times 53.9s consistently. Joe Ruck, actually quickest guy on the racetrack, at a 53.8 last time by, but 2.6 seconds back. So not going to be enough there for your championship winner from last year, I don't believe. Obviously, commentator Kurtz could make a factor into this one here, but climbing the hill now. Evan Batt extending his advantage just a little bit over Justin Kelly here as they go down the hill. Kelly's pretty good on the brakes there. Let's see if he makes a move here into turn 11. Not going to make it happen.
Yeah, you mentioned last time by that it was 53.9s for both of the top two. Something tells me that Justin Kelly may have a little bit more pace than that. 53.9 may not be his all-out pace as we see them work through the bus stop. This is one area that I want to make a comment on. It looks like Evan Batt has had Justin Kelly just about on his bumper most of the track, but seems to stretch it out just about a kart length or two through the bus stop, which prevents Justin Kelly from making one of those diving moves into turn number 1. As they work through turn number 3, it was a 53.7 for both of the top 2 last time by, so the speed still picking up. Evan Batt with the fastest lap of the race, last lap number 12, only 40 seconds left, so it's probably going to be 3, maybe 2 to go next time by. Evan Batt with the biggest advantage we've seen in quite a few laps here.
Yeah, Evan Batt got a really good launch out of turn 4 and 5, and as he clomb the hill, didn't get a good exit out of 11 there, so all of a sudden Justin Kelly's back into play. But like you said, as they're climbing the hill, Evan Batt got a really good launch and pulled a gap that we haven't seen before through the bus stop. Like you said, it's where Evan Batt has been quick. Justin Kelly is, right back in the bumper here, has a run down the inside of turn 1. Again, Evan Batt closes the door. Justin Kelly, you can't get the confidence on the brakes there because they're still pretty slick.
You can see him starting to build up towards that move, looking for it more and more over the past couple of laps. He wants to get it done, just can't find a way around yet. It is now 3 laps to go. They'll see the sticks in the air next time by. Still Evan Batt with the advantage. This has been the fight of the race all race long. Not too much going on around the rest of the field. A slight battle for 4th and 5th, but the battle up front is the one we want to stay on. These two have been going at it all race, and Justin Kelly still looking for a way around Evan Batt, not quite able to get it done yet. Reels him back into that rear bumper as they work through turn 12 and head towards the bus stop. It'll be 2 to go this time by.
Justin Kelly, the closest we've seen him through the bus stop, round in the final corner. Once again, do we see a run into turn 1? No, we don't. Evan Batt holds on to fight for another corner here. 2 to go signal in the air. Looking a little further back, Joe Ruck not going to be there, 4 seconds back. So it's a battle for the lead here. Evan Batt and Justin Kelly, mano-a-mano fight like we've seen all race long. I got to say, if Justin Kelly can't get on Evan Batt, I think we would have seen a little bit of a different story if it was a feature race. I think he would have sent one down the inside already at this point. But like you said, working towards that confidence levels. He watched the race prior. He saw the spins that were happening in turn 1. Doesn't want to do the same thing.
Yeah, certainly playing it smart here. It's nice to get a pre-final win, but what's even nicer is starting on the front row for the final later today as Justin Kelly starts to lose touch just a little bit with Evan Batt, and we'll focus on Joe Ruck here, who's been quick all race. On his lonesome in P3, quite a boring race for the number 1 plate as he has just been cruising by himself, watching the battle, just a couple laps. Just a couple seconds out front as we work into the last lap of this race. A white flag in the air this time by. One more opportunity for Evan Batt and Justin Kelly to go at it. There are a couple kart lengths apart right now. Justin Kelly not quite able to close back to that rear bumper as we've seen in the past couple of laps. He's working, he's getting towards there, but not enough yet, Alex.
Yeah, Evan Batt just doing enough to hold on. I mean, we've been seeing this battle go on for the last 10+ minutes, but Justin Kelly with a great run up the hill. Down the hill now, closes up to the bumper of Evan Batt. Let's see, do we see him move into 11? I don't think so. Evan Batt's going to just hold on, exiting turn 11. He's as close as we've seen him all race long. Through turn 12, Justin Kelly all over the bumper now of Evan Batt, but through the single file bus stop where Evan Batt has been quickest all race long. It's going to just be enough. Evan Batt's going to hold on to win the pre-final across the line. Justin Kelly, 0.07 of a second away from a pre-final victory. What a run.
That was a good race. Justin Kelly putting the pressure on Evan Batt all race long. Evan Batt laying down a fairly quick time there near the end, dropped down into the 53.5 range. Justin Kelly into the 53.4 range. As we watch the rest of the field cross the line, we'll run you through the finishing order. It was Evan Batt over Justin Kelly in that awesome race-long battle for the victory. Joe Ruck on his lonesome in P3. Behind that, the top finisher of your Rock Masters category, Michael Rivera, in P4 overall. Brad Danoff rounds out your top 5. Behind that, it was Michael Gouache, Tiffany Kelly, Frank Runco, Ryan Frank, and Hugh Templeman rounded out your top 10. And farther back, Robert Feige, Cody Beck, and Matt Michiko closes out your Masters field. Matt Michiko going to have his work cut out for him later in this race. He's been so fast all week and qualified on pole, but not a lot of luck late in yesterday and into this morning. He's going to start 13th for the final later today. But when we come back, it will be KA Junior Group B out for their pre-final this morning. A lot of action to come there, a lot of drivers on the track. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You're watching on Kart Chaser. And as we come back, we've got 40 karts on track for KA Junior. The pre-final has been grouped together, both groups. We've seen a few drivers go around on the out lap, trying to get their bearings, trying to figure out where the grip is on this drying track. Still the dry line in effect. There are some damp spots on this track, but a full field of 40 drivers are about to take the green here, Alex.
Yeah, no LCQ here for the KA Junior pre-final, so we're putting all 40 into one grid. Like we were saying, a bunch of drivers struggling to find the grip. The story of the day so far has been the drying racetrack that isn't really drying. There is only one dry line and nowhere to pass.
And as they get set to head towards the bus stop, we'll give you a few of the drivers in this field. Not sure we're going to get through all 40, but on the pole, Isaac Mountquit coming out the best of yesterday. On his outside, it is JJ O'Neill in P3, Austin Olds, P4, Jackson Wolney, P5, Mason Walters, P6, Carter McMurray, P7, CJ Bowen, P8, Sebastian Reese, P9, Mason Kuhn, and Davin Roberts will round out your top 10 as we get ready to take the green flag. One driver off in the exit, in the grass. On the front straight, a lot of drivers sliding through turn 1. It's 2, 3 wide, exiting 1, 4 wide even, as a gaggle of karts head towards turn number 3. Austin Olds was in your lead early. He is running way wide. Is the pressure from Isaac Mountquit there for the lead? He'll go defensive into 5, and a chaotic start to be sure. Isaac Mountquit fighting off Austin Olds. He will dive to the lead here through the horseshoe. Still 2, 3 wide inside the top 5 coming up the hill, Alex.
Oh my God, I mean, it's like ice racing right now. Nobody can find grip. We have one car out, that's JJ O'Neill. Yesterday's Heat 2 winner. JJ O'Neill from the front row is spun round in front of the field.
It's
heartbreak.
Hero. The local hero who had such a strong run all weekend, going to be relegated to the end of this 40 kart field. That's a tough break for the hometown hero here early in the KA Junior pre-final. With 40 karts on track, he's going to have his work cut out for him in the final as we complete lap number 1 on your screen. Jackson Wolney behind Austin Olds and Isaac Mountquit as they head into turn number 1. We'll work through Jackson Wolney closing up to that rear bumper on the 816 machine is Mason Walters looking to the inside. He'll get past Jackson Wolney and bring another with him as Carter McMurray finds his way past Wolney as well.
Yeah, Carter McMurray, like you said, finds his way into P4. Arguably the fastest go-kart on the racetrack yesterday. You know, didn't have the first heat he would have wanted. Second heat, clean sailing victory into P4. Now Mountquit back to the front. Your leader, Austin Olds in P2. Jackson Wolney now has fallen back to P5 from P3, so from 3rd to 5th and 1 lap for him. But here comes Mason Walters now to the bumper of the MP3 driver of Austin Olds. It is a, maybe 7-8 kart train out front in KA Junior.
Yeah, no space between the leaders here early in the race as they work through turn number 12. Like you said, about an 8 kart group fighting for the lead early. You see Isaac Mountquit, Austin Olds, Mason Walters. Austin looking for a move to the inside of turn number 1. He'll commit. He'll go through and bring Mason Walters with him. Look at Carter McMurray to the inside of Isaac Mountquit looking for that 3rd position. He'll take that over as they work into turn 3. Austin Olds is your new leader.
Yeah, what a move for Austin Olds. Austin Olds proving that maybe the track is drying. It didn't seem too difficult to make a move there for Olds. I mean, he slid up the racetrack a little bit, but it seemed to be pretty easy there for Austin Olds. So the track is drying pretty quickly now. Austin Olds to the lead. Mason Walters went a little bit wide there. I thought McMurray was going to make a move, couldn't make it stick. Going down the hill now is Austin Olds, your leader. I believe that is Roman McCurdy in P5. What a run there for Roman McCurdy.
Yeah, excellent drive for Roman as he works through the first couple of laps here in KA Junior. Still a 1-line group for the lead. About 8 karts still in contention here in this top group. They'll work through the bus stop, complete their 3rd lap, and look at that early defense. Mason Walters diving down to the bottom of the track, does not want to give Austin Olds an opportunity to go down the inside, and that will stack everyone up inside the top 5. Early defense from Mason Walters. Austin Olds going to look for a way by. He'll shove it down the inside, and he'll clear Austin Olds to the lead. Mason Walters going to fall back to 3rd, possibly 4th, as Carter McMurray looks for a way around the outside. He's not going to get that, and he's going to lose 2 spots for his efforts there.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know who's where right now in this KA Junior race. It's absolute chaos. Like I said, it's like ice racing. Austin Olds lost the lead, found his way back to the lead. Mountquit followed suit, and Mason Walters down to 3rd, and then Carter McMurray, who thought he was safe in 4th, is now back to 6th.
this fight still raging on. A lot of drivers in this top group will work through turn number 12, completing lap number 4 here. Austin Olds still leading this race over Isaac Malkowit and Mason Walters. Jackson Wolney there in P4. Look at Isaac Malkowit down to the inside. Austin Olds, he'll make the move for the lead, and he's going to bring Mason Walters with him. Austin Olds drops to third as the fight rages on just a little bit behind them as they head into turn 3. Defensive down to the bottom for Isaac Malkowit. Wants to hold on to that lead.
Oh.
Contact for Jackson Wolney. 2-3 wide exiting turn number 5. He'll pop into the air for a second and look at John Antonino making his way through.
Yeah, here comes John Antonino. Speaking of Antonino, he and Max Whalen got into it a little bit yesterday. Where is Max Whalen? We haven't really talked about him all race long. I can't really get a sight on where Whalen is, but down the inside, Walters now back to the lead. It's an MPG 2 and 4 as Olds is second. Malkowit is third, and CJ Bowman pushed out of the way by McMurray. So Bowman now back to 5th, and there's Roman McCurdy now crossing over his teammate.
As we work through, it's about a 6-cart fight. Austin Olds on the back of Mason Walters as they come through across the line down into turn number 1. They were quick last time by, but you have to go all the way back to P16 for your fastest race lap, a 57.7 to the leaders' 58.4s right now, given they are fighting pretty heavily. No one's been able to lead for more than a lap straight here as the drivers keep trading off places, everyone taking their shot at leading this race, but it is Mason Walters over Austin Olds coming up to the top of the hill now.
Austin Olds trying to push Mason Walters away from the rest of the pack. I don't think it's going to be possible here in KA Junior from what we saw yesterday. It is going to be trained racing for the next 6 minutes plus 2 laps. Mason Walters out front, rounding turn 12 there. Austin Olds all over the bumper of Mason Walters there. Here comes Malkowit, and he's bringing Carter McMurray with him. McMurray, like I said, yesterday's quickest driver all day long. Olds looks back. Does he make a move into 1? No, he doesn't. They're going to follow behind Mason Walters. Malkowit goes purple, 57.4. It's 57.4s all across the board here. Up to turn 3, late move. Austin Olds to the inside. Malkowit's going to follow through. Walters going to have to back out of it, and I think McMurray's going to go through as Malkowit is a 2 for 1. He goes from 3rd to 1st in 1 lap. What a run for Isaac Malkowit this lap.
Isaac Malkowit has been all the way up to 1st, as far down as about 5th so far. They've been fighting pretty consistently as Austin Olds will give up the lead there into turn number 1, and we see Roman McCurdy arriving on the scene as the top 4 were fighting. It was top 4 nose to tail into turn 1. Now it's about the top 8.
Yeah, I mean, this is just incredible stuff from KA Junior. It's what you expect, though, out of this class. It's always one of the best shows of the weekend. Looking a little further back, Antonino has joined the group. He is in P7. What a run for John Antonino. Here comes Austin Olds. Is he going to make a move into 1? No, he doesn't. McCurdy's going to go maybe through Carter McMurray. No, he doesn't. Roman McCurdy side by side with Carter McMurray. He's going to have the inside for turn 3, squeeze his way through. Is he going to have the help of Jackson Wolney? Yes, he does. And the help of Antonino. Oh, I think McMurray's going to lose 2 or 3 spots here. And there goes Wolney now, 2 for 1. Oh, and Antonino to the side pod of Carter McMurray, and Roman McCurdy has followed through. And I believe, who is that? That is Henry Taylor, I think, now has got his way into the mix.
And John Antonino going to go for a move there on Carter McMurray. Will lose 1 in the end as we tab back to the front. And look at that, Carter McMurray diving on. Is that Roman McCurdy possibly in that MPG Motorsports kart, losing a couple of spots there on the exit as we see John Antonino working his way through turn number 12, chasing this group down. And these are drivers back in 4th, 5th, 6th position that have been leading this race early. The positions have just been swapping constantly, and now we see the top 3 start to break away. That is Isaac Malkowit over Austin Olds and Mason Walters working through turn 1, and Jackson Wolney there in 4th spot, an early leader in this race, trying to work his way back to these top 3.
Yeah, I mean, how easy it is to lose ground to the leaders. It is a 3-car breakaway. Last lap, it was 8-car breakaway. So if these 3 drivers are smart, they're going to look back and realize that they have a pretty decent margin now to Jackson Wolney, who's all on his lonesome. So they should just work together with about 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go. But it's not what we've seen throughout the race. If anything, throughout this race has told me something, is that these guys all want to lead the race. Malkowit still up front, Olds in 2nd, Mason Walters in 3rd, Wolney all on his lonesome, and then it's McMurray, Caleb Tarter, who's on a monster runner now, went purple last time by at a 57.3. So Caleb Tarter on the MPG is the man on the mission right now.
And these top three certainly starting to work together a little bit, spacing out from their competition, not going for as many passes. But as I say that, Austin Olds down to the inside. He's going to bring Mason Walters with him, and they'll both clear Isaac Malkowit as Malkowit falls to third. They'll work towards turn 3, and your new leader, Austin Olds.
Yeah, but Caleb Tarter, 57.13 faster than your leader, 6 tenths faster than Jackson Wolney, and I believe he did get around Wolney. He has. So Caleb Tarter, move him to P4. This group is coming, and they're doing it quickly. Austin Olds is going to try to carry this train away, but I don't think so. Caleb Tarter has brought McMurray and Antonino with him.
Yeah, we've watched the top 3 for just a little bit, but this next group of 4 heating up, charging their way back towards the front. That is Caleb Tarter leading that group around over Jackson Wolney, and Carter McMurray and John Antonino makes up the end of that group. They will charge back towards the front. They are running very quick times as the leaders continue to swap spots out front. They are hooked up and starting to work together. They are in frame now, about a second difference between P4 and the top 3 drivers as they work through lap number 10. They are on lap number 11 now, 2 minutes plus 2 laps remaining as the leaders still pretty single file working through the horseshoe now. Still Austin Olds your leader, and this second group starting to heat up. Last time by a 57.4 for Caleb Tarter. That's faster than all your leaders. Last time by, they are closing that gap inch by inch here, Alex.
Yeah, Jackson Wolney has no problem pushing Caleb Tarter to the front. He has realized that Caleb Tarter, quickest kart on the racetrack. Like you said, Simon, last time by, he's in the same frame now as he's top 3. And Austin Olds, still your leader. Walters in second, Malkwood in third. But all 3 of them have shown that they all like to be the leader. So through the bus stop now, let's see the gaps as they round the final corner. What's it going to be? It was 1.4 as Austin Olds now back to the front. So Austin Olds and Mason Walters, they don't really realize that I don't think the group behind them is quicker.
Yeah, and last time by, it was Jackson Wolney pushing Caleb Tarter to the fastest times of the race. And look at Austin Olds, defensive into 1, defensive into 3, now defensive into 5. And just defending those 3 corners is going to bring that next group in. So now we're about to have a 7-kart battle for the lead as you see that frame closing closer and closer. Caleb Tarter making his way to the rear end of Isaac Malkowit and Mason Walters. It is heating up here with 30 seconds plus 2 laps remaining, so it'll come by 3 laps to go next time by, Alex.
Oh, it is about to kick off. Like you said, 30 seconds plus 2 laps. So we're going to have 3 laps to go through the bus stop, rounding the final corner. Isaac Malkowit has found himself into P2. Let's see, down the front straight. Austin Olds looked the wrong way. Malkowit to the inside. Here comes Mason Walters. Malkowit first, Walters second, Olds third. Here comes Caleb Tarter, his teammate. Does Tarter help his teammate, or does he push him? I don't think so. Olds, late move on Mason Walters. Caleb Tarter's going to follow through. So Caleb now to P3. Mason Walters from first to fourth in half a lap.
Yep, 7-kart battle now. We predicted it, it came true. That second group caught the leaders with that help of defending from Austin Olds. Austin working his way after getting past into turn 1 back up into P2 as they spread out just a little bit up the hill. They'll close as they come down through turn number 10 into 11 and 12, round out the last end of this track, and they will come to 2 to go this time by with 7 karts battling it out for the lead. Isaac Malkowit currently leading over Austin Olds as they come through. Caleb Tarter has worked his way up into that P3 position, and a fight about to break out with just 2 laps remaining in this race.
Down the front straightaway. We're going to get the 2 to go signal. Malkowit goes middle of the track. Crossover incoming, maybe from Austin Olds. All to the inside. Malkowit's going to shut the door on him. The thing that Malkowit has to deal with right now is that there's 2 MPG teammates behind him. So Austin Olds knows that his teammate's going to work with him wherever he goes. It's Malkowit first, Olds second, Tarter third. I thought he was going to make a move there on his teammate, actually. And Walters has closed the gap now, and he's brought Wolney, McMurray, and Antonino with him.
As they come up the hill, Isaac Malkowit still in the lead over Olds. Coming down the hill, he's gone defensive to the inside, and that will just stack the group up even farther. Austin Olds looking for a way around. He's going to run high into this corner and look at Caleb Tarter to the inside of Olds. He'll clear his teammate as the fighting erupts just a bit farther back. They'll work through turn number 12. Caleb Tarter from that second group all the way up into second place now.
Caleb Tarter has put himself in the prime position to possibly win this pre-final. Round in the final corner. White flag in the air. Malkowit goes fully defensive. Tarter's going to follow him through here. round turn 1 here. Let's see the run up the hill through turn 2 into turn 3. Malkowitz's inevitably going to go defensive. Tarter's going to follow him through. Walter's going to push Austin Olds out the way. He says, I'm coming through. I want P3. John Antonino has found himself from P6 now in a maybe P5, but here comes Wone. He's going to push him wide.
Yeah, and as that battling erupts from a little bit further back, the top 4 enjoying an advantage now. About a kart length separate each of them, but look at Caleb Tarter making gains on Isaac Malkowit. Malkowit not defensive into down the hill. Look at that, Caleb Tarter through the lead. He'll move Isaac Malkowit out of the way, and Mason Walters takes over the lead on the crossover. Now Walters over Tarter as they come through turn number 12. Austin Olds still there in P3. Austin Olds to the inside of his teammate. He'll clear Caleb Tarter and move himself into P2. Last lap coming to the finish line. It is Mason Walters over Austin Olds and Caleb Tarter as they cross the line.
Wow, what a race in KA Junior. Isaac Malkowit, unfortunate for him, he goes from 1st to 7th in half a lap. He must have thought that he had this one maybe not sealed up, but at least a top 3. He's found himself on the back of this train. What a run from Mason Walters, though, to take advantage of Caleb Tarter and Malkowit going wide into turn 5, and he's going to win this pre-final. A drag race to the line puts Austin Olds 2nd, and Caleb Tarter rounds out your top 3. Jackson Moloney 4th, McMurray in 5th, Antonino in 6th, Malkowit, like I said, from 1st to 7th in 1 lap. Landon Boer, good run for him. Cole Wilson in 9th, and Roman McCurdy rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, what a race we've seen there. I think from that we can determine that just about anyone inside the top 10 can win this thing given the opportunity. It just comes down to these last lap battles. Another driver I want to mention, JJ O'Neill, driving his way from that lap 1 incident where he got spun around at the top of the hill. He will recover to 19th. Still a lot of work to do in the final, but a lot better than starting 40th, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, and a lot of work still to do, but JJ O'Neill, good run for him. I mean, maybe not the race he would have wanted right after a Heat 2 victory, but to finish 19th after being spun around, you know, halfway through the first lap, good run for JJ O'Neill. I want to see, where did Max Wayland end up in this one? 25th. He had one of the fastest karts on the racetrack, but just not the race he would have wanted, especially from the pace we saw yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of action we've seen as the timing continues to scroll across your screen for the results from KA Junior. Again, Mason Walters taking that victory by 0.04 of a second over Austin Olds. A fight for the ages on the last lap there between the top 7. And when we come back, it will be your Swift Stars up for their pre-final. This is the Steel City Showdown. You're watching on Kart Chaser.
Hey guys, it's Dave here from Kart Class. We're at MCC, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. We're here to show you guys the fastest way to drive this almost 1 mile circuit. It offers both fast sweeping corners, some fast chicanes, and a technical switchback that leads onto a long main straight. Let's find out where to brake, where to accelerate, and where the best places to overtake. So let's get stuck into it.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh International Race Complex for the final race before the lunch break here for the Steel City Showdown. As we get set for Swift Stars to head onto the racetrack here, they have formed up. We've got one a little bit late there. Is spinning just onto the bottom corner of the screen, trying to get to the field. hopefully he'll be able to get himself caught all up. But Lucas Palacio, Marco Samet, Travis Pettit, Gabriel Balog start 1, 2, 3, 4. They have been 1, 2, 3, 4 battling amongst themselves in all the heat races. The continuously drying racetrack has caused a lot of chaos and a lot for us to talk about on the stream. Let's see if it continues in the final race before the lunch break. Pre-final action for Mini Swift Stars. Into the box and on the power. We're green down to turn 1, and the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republics will get away as turned in front of the field. That looked like Keith Lewis Jr. getting turned around in turn number 1.
A bit of chaos to start this race off. A few drivers around in turn 1. That was up inside the top 5 possibly, but Lucas Palacio getting away clean, bringing his Trinity Karting teammate with him as Travis Pettit solidifies himself into P2, and Marco Samet, who started outside row number 1, will slot into P3 out of turn 1. As they work up towards the top of the hill, it is those two Trinity Karting Group karts starting to stretch their advantage just a little bit.
Yeah, both of them starting to try and get away. Here's a look at Marco Samet and Gabriel Balog trying to track them down in 3rd and 4th. All of the main runners up front getting away good. Grady Kroenig with a good start on that MPG Motorsports machine. He's still 5th there, headed out of turn 13. Lucas Palacio is going to bring your field through the bus stop. Here we go to put 1 lap in the books. 11 minutes plus 15 seconds to go, plus 2 laps as they come across the line. It's a 4-car breakaway, a couple car lengths to Grady Kroenig and Kai Mars. It was indeed Lewis, I believe, that got spun around, Keith Lewis Jr., so unfortunately he goes all the way to the rear. It moves up Jacob Scheible to the 7th spot and more as we see a change for 2nd on screen. Welcome further higher, Marco Samet on the BJR MDR LN kart to 2nd.
And Marco Samet's one of the drivers yesterday was bringing the fight to Lucas Palacio in both of those heats, not letting Lucas Palacio run away with it early, but they give him any advantage like this, any chance to break the draft, and he will take that opportunity. Marco Samet with the pace to run him down. He will bring Travis Pettit with him and Gabriel Balog there in P4. A repeat of a lot of the action we saw yesterday. These 4 drivers going at it pretty consistently, showing us a lot of good racing as they come out of turn 12. A few different lines out of there, some high, some low, but they have started to group up in efforts of chasing down Lucas Palacio, who leads this race early.
Yeah, they'll come down this front straight away here. What's the gap? Well, it might open up a little more. Pettit, that was a fun little hand signal there saying, hey, wait, Gabriel, if you want to go, we're going to get to the lead first, then we can fight for 3rd. So Balog backs out of it as they go through 3. And at the same time, really good lap coming from Grady Kroenig and Kai Mars there in 5th and 6th as they close on up. So the top 6 all in frame, even going back to 7th to Jacob Scheible, who's had a good start also. But as they climb the hill, it's as of last time by the stripe, half a second for Lucas Palacio, almost away, but he's not home free yet. He needs about 2 more passes, and they're not happening just yet here, Simon.
No, they've got it pretty figured out, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, using their brains, planning the strategy, deciding that it's better to go ahead and catch Lucas than go ahead and fight early as Marco Samet continues to close that gap inch by inch, that draft, doing a lot of work to bring this group back together. Lucas Palacio running as hard as he can out front, but unfortunately with only a half-second advantage, it's not going to be enough to break this draft. And now we see Gabriel Balog to the inside of Travis Pettit. He's going to complete that move into turn number 1.
Yeah, Balog gets through, Pettit back to 4th, and it gives Marco Samet some space. Now Pettit wants it back. He takes it back in turn number 3. Travis Pettit saying, dude, we almost got there. What are we doing? But Balog obviously feels like Pettit is slowing him down. He's trying to claw his way forward. The good news is they've still got a lot of time left. Back in 5th and 6th. What an impressive run still in this pre-final. Can't say it enough about Grady Kroenig and Kai Mars here in the damp conditions. They have been catching this group and running fast times the last couple of laps. Jacob Scheible as well looking good there in 7th, but 5th and 6th here. Grady Kroenig is one of his only starts on the national season. Talked to his father a little bit last night. They were set for about 4 LO206 starts this year, and that was it. And here on home turf, he's inside the lead pack. Kai Mars is there, who has been a little bit under the radar this weekend on the Trinity Karting Group Green and White Kart Republic. He's that white helmet there at the back of the screen in 6th. So he makes it a full 6-car lead group as Marco Samet goes purple. Here he comes to turn 3, Simon.
3/10 faster than Lucas Palacio last time by. He has closed that gap to nothing. He is all over the rear bumper of Lucas as they head towards turn 5. No defense yet, no moves yet from Marco Samet. he's going to try and get Palacio to run away from the rest of this group, as Travis Pettit still sitting there in third, with Gabriel Balak, who made that move earlier for the third place, still sitting there comfortably in fourth, wanting to get by Pettit, not having been able to stick that move consistently yet, and that will allow Grady Kroenig and Kai Mars to attach themselves to this group as well, and we've got about a 6-car battle for the lead here, Xander.
Yeah, they are all together now. At least they were. 5th and 6th have faded back a little bit. The top 4 is still close. So down through the bus stop, we'll put this time 5 laps complete. Samet's going to have another big run on Palacio. He has not yet made a bid for the lead. Now he will. To the lead, Marco Samet brings the cavalry by. Pettit is through. He's now going to look to the inside. Travis Pettit wants to take the top spot away. He does into turn 3 with help from Gabriel Balog. And your first and second place drivers are now back in 4th and 3rd, headed to turn 5. And we'll low line it with Pettit trying to hold the position through the S's.
And Pettit and Balog making the most of those moves into turn 1. They followed Marco Samet through on Palacio. Palacio going to drop back 3 spots into the 4th position. Now has Grady Kroenig on his rear bumper, so that fighting in turns 1 and 3 certainly allowed the 5th place driver to close up. But look at that, Gabriel Balog throwing up his hand after making that diving move into turn 10, trying to get out to the lead of this race. He will take over the lead by a few car lengths. And look at Marco Samet and Lucas Palacio going at it into turn number 12.
Yeah, that's Marco Samet on the blue and yellow LN cart, the green and white Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic of Lucas Palacio in that gold helmet in 4th. Was side by side with him. Let's see what they do down the front straightaway. Palacio pulls out a line, but it was a little bit too early. Samet will get the toe off the back of Pettit and close up and hold the 3rd spot. Now Gabriel Balog with a lead this big means they might pass for 2nd. They do. Here comes Samet. Here comes Palacio, but he's got his teammate there, so he tries to give him space. Pettit's going to let him on by. And now Kai Mars wants to get going. He takes over 5th. With a heads-up move there as Pettit and Kroenig slam the brakes. Kai Mars into the top 5.
And now that's 3 Trinity Karting Group karts lined up in 3rd, 4th, and 5th now. Out front, Gabriel Balog over Marco Samet. They're going to get into each other just a little bit. And Marco Samet, Gabriel Balog very not happy with the move in turn number 10, but Marco Samet going to regain the lead of this race as they go side by side behind him. Gabriel Balog getting attacked by Lucas Palacio. Palacio is going to come through and bring the cavalry with him this time.
Yeah, full train lined up there. Here goes Pettit. Mars could not follow. It is Palacio to 2nd, Pettit 3rd. Balog back to 4th. Marco Samet now gets the one that is to be hunted down. All the while here, Jacob Scheible and the rest of the field are watching these leaders duel, hoping that it slows them down enough to bring them backwards. Scheible, as you can see, is 2.2 seconds back from the top spot. Here comes a big run from Palacio. He'll get to within a car length as they go to turn number 5.
And now we have a definite 6-kart battle in this lead group. Palacio currently sitting in 2nd behind Samet. They work out of the horseshoe and up the hill towards turn number 10. Palacio all over that rear bumper of Samet. Is he going to look for a move into turn 10 this time? Yes, he will. To the inside goes Lucas Palacio. New leader, Lucas Palacio, the 102 Trinity Karting Group machine, been strong all weekend. Started on pole here, is going to retake the lead as the fighting has been dicing back and forth. Marco Samet sitting in P2 right behind Lucas, and look at that, Travis Pettit into P3. They've got themselves just a little bit over the drivers in 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Gabriel Balog there was 4th across the line. He's now back to 6th. They're going to go low for a minute, though. Palacio heard Samet coming and quickly defended. That was some heads-up driving there from Lucas Palacio. It almost pays off as Pettit is nearly able to get by. Now he tries the inside. Samet still not going to let those TKG teammates get together. The BJR MDR LN kart holds 2nd, and that little maneuver brings Kai Mars and Grady Kroenig back into it. Gabriel Balog is the driver on the back foot all the way back to 6th, a second and a half away. In the chaos that ensued for 4th, he's now got to track back down the lead group by himself.
I want to say possibly something wrong on Gabriel Balog's kart. Came down the front straight, throwing his hands up, waving at his motor. Possibly an engine issue there for Gabriel Balog as he loses touch just a bit with this top group, as we see on your screen there coming through. It is Grady Kroenig and Kai Mars working through turn number 12. They'll come onto the front straight, those two nose to tail. And it is still Lucas Palacio over Marco Samet and Travis Pettit.
Jacob Scheible looking back for 6th there, but the leaders are tightening up again. Marco Samet pulls up to within a car length there. Problems a little bit further back for Anna McCrone just off screen. She goes around back in 17th. Meanwhile here, into turn number 5, pairs of 2, finally stabilizing. It took a while, nearly a day and a half of racing for these mini Swift drivers to spread themselves out. And granted, I don't think the lack of battling is by choice. I think when Marco Salmon arrives to Lucas Palacio's bumper with 2 minutes to go, Simon, he'll go.
Yeah, and they're 2 of the fastest drivers on track. That's why they've gotten the gap early here. They're spacing themselves out, but once that fighting ensues, we could see some of the other drivers come into contention. Travis Pettit still sitting there in P3, a few kart links back, but it is Marco Salmon closing in on that rear bumper of Lucas Palacio. 2 minutes plus 2 laps remaining in this race. These 2 drivers starting to check out just a little bit on the field.
Yeah, they are definitely making their way away from everybody else. If Samet is going to hold station there in second, they might continue to break away. Purple lap times for the both of them there. Samet just a little bit quicker after he crossed the line at a 59.84, and he'll stay tucked in line behind Lucas Palacio to try and break away from Travis Pettit. Pettit sits 6.5 tenths back right now as they enter turn number 5. So good stuff for Travis Pettit if he can put it together more and bank on maybe a Samet pass. Otherwise, he's going to probably lock into third, which still, again, is good for him considering he went instantly to second on the start of this pre-final in that same position.
Absolutely. All this fighting is just to set the grid for the final later today. And like we've talked about yesterday, it's nice to have that extra spot, but if it's going to cost you a crash, a DNF, something like that, probably not worth it. So the drivers may be holding back just a little bit to try and ensure they are going to start inside the top 10 for the final later today, as Palacio starting to gap themselves a little bit away from the rest of the field. Travis Pettit falling a little farther back. Marco Samet still on that rear bumper, a 1 minute flat for the top 2 drivers last time by a minute 3, a minute 0.2 for Pettit and Kai Mars in third and fourth. They worked through turn number 3. It is Palacio out front of Samet with about a 5 kart length gap over Travis Pettit. So provided they stay like this, these could be the top 2 running away with the victory. But if they start fighting, we could see Pettit, Mars, Kronik, even Balog get back into this fight.
As they head down the hill to turn at number 10, Lucas Palacio by a car length over Marco Samet right now through the drop-down hairpin. It's just stayed at that kart length buffer. That's the weirdest part here. Samet's been quick enough to run him down, in the past, but as this track is dried, as the tires have come to good temperature, Lucas Palacio has been driving well enough to keep Marco Samet at bay.
Yeah, and that's what's the interesting part about this. Marco Samet, a driver I felt like one of the only ones in the field that can hold on to Lucas Palacio when he's out front. 2 to go this time by Palacio. Like we mentioned in qualifying, went out with no draft in this heavily draft-dependent class, qualified on pole, backed up his lap time 2 more times to run 3 times worthy of pole in qualifying with no draft whatsoever. So it is a challenge for the rest of the field to hold on to this 102 Trinity karting machine out front, but Marco Samet still there within draft range. They've checked out to over a second from Travis Pettit behind, and another second behind that to Grady Kronik and Kai Mars. But Pettit not able to gain as Palacio and Samet take down the hill. Now about a 2 kart length gap between them. Samet having a bit of a hard time holding on to a charging Palacio out front. They'll come to the white flag this time by. They round turn number 12 heading into the bus stop. Palacio with the advantage.
Yeah, here we go. Coming at 2 to go. Palacio's lead is as big as it's been, if not bigger, in the last couple of laps. 3 car lengths here as they head down the front stretch. Pettit still back there in third, no change. Kronik and Mars have even spread apart a little bit as Grady Kronik throws down a heater that time, 59.95, his new personal best. Can Marco Samet find anything more here on this final lap? That's a good run through turn 3. Not close enough into 5, but he needs a good enough run here. If he can get maybe a half car length closer, he'll force Palacio to block, go offline, and that'll make it a full battle to the end. But what a great launch up the hill. One thing again to keep in mind here, the setups are obviously a little bit different on the cars, both gear ratio and grip dialed in, trying to guess the exact grip level of the racetrack as it's been changing session by session here in Mini Swift. So it could just be, as this track is dried up, Palacio's kart more geared for a drier racetrack, both in terms of gear ratio for the power as well as for the kart setup. In any way you can chalk it up, it has been the best one, and it will stay the best one. Into the main event, Lucas Palacio continues the sweep. He wins the pre-final over Marco Samet.
Marco Samet coming on P2. You see Travis Pettit and Grady Kronik. Kronik closing up massively unpetted that last lap, not able to get the move done, but he'll run some strong times and come home P4. Kai Mars into P5. Gabriel Balog falls to P6. Holden Harder, P7. As we watch a few more carts cross the line, it was Jacob Scheibel, P8, Max McCorum, P9, and Darren Kidd rounded out your top 10.
That rounds it all the way through here as the field continues to cycle. Keith Lewis Jr. there crossing the line. That was the driver that got turned around in turn number 1 on the opening lap and had to rebound back to 15th. But 6 spots gained for Holden Harder. Remember, he had a mixed bag of heat race results with a spin in heat number 1 and a good run in heat number 2. Picks up 6th from 13th. He ends 7th. Gabriel Balog ends up down in 6th, 8 seconds back. So, Simon, you were probably right. Engine issues plaguing the Magic Kart driver. And then further back, Tyrone Kemper Jr. with a good drive from the back of the field. He picks up 6th to end up 11th there from 17th. Caleb Tracy, Shane Stern, and on down through the rest with Ben Gleberman having the worst of it all. He was the other driver collected in turn number 1 on the opening lap, and a DNF for Ben Gleberman. For those of you watching here, of course, my name's Xander Clemens. Alongside me, Simon Sykes. You've heard from Alexander Searle, and he'll be seeing more of him when we come back from this lunch break. But we have a 30-minute break for the hardworking team here at Pittsburgh International Race Complex, along with the Stars Championship Series officials, to grab some lunch, grab some water. We have 4 more pre-final races for 3 divisions still to go. The KA Stars Pre-Final B, which is essentially a last chance qualifier to get in to the main event. The bottom 20, after the 50 drivers went through the heats, will battle for the final 10 spots to go into the 40-car grid. Then it'll be the top half of the field. The fastest 30 after the heats will get to run in a Pre-Final A to set spots 1 through 30. And then, of course, the 2 headline divisions, Pro Stars and then OKN Stars, concludes the free coverage before we go to main events. But I'm really excited to see the ever-intense Pre-Final B action.
We've got some action coming up after this lunch break. The rest of the pre-finals, all mainline events basically. We've got a LCQ, we've got a KA Stars stacked field, a lot of drivers coming out for that. Then we'll have Pro Stars and OKN Stars to close out our pre-final action before we head into finals later today. So a lot of action coming up. Be sure to stay tuned. We've been live from Kart Chaser. We're going to take our lunch break, and when we come back, more of the Steel City Showdown.
We are getting set to go green here with KA Stars. Pre-final B hitting the box and underway as they head down to turn number 1. This is the last chance to get in to the main event here later this afternoon. Everybody survives turn 1. The drying track continues as they head down to turn number 3. And side by side we go. Kyle Raymond and Anthony DeCesaro headline the front row. They have slotted into first and second. It is going to be one of the OTKs, potentially Ryan Bierman into third. Good start, it looks like, for Matt Darlison aboard the Praga. He's in that purple and black machine in fourth right now as they climb the hill and head down the run to turn number 10. Side by side nearly for the lead for Anthony DeCesaro. He's in that white helmet aboard the red, black, and white MPG Motorsports Kart Republic, all trailing the red and white Bureau art of Kyle Raymond, who defends into turn number 12. That'll back them up. Crossover move for the lead. Anthony DeCesaro on home turf trying to lead the way to be the first of the 10 to transfer into the main event. The bubble spot back in 10th. We'll give you an update when they cross the line. It's a big line of cars as Matt Darlison goes for second on Kyle Raymond in turn number 1.
And he will make that move Matthew Darlison up to that P2 position, and he will immediately get repassed into turn 3, trying to hold that outside, and he will. He holds the outside, now has the inside line for turn 5, and Matthew Darlison, after a couple of corners, finally getting that move done, and the 324 machine, or the 924, Ryan Bierman trying to get in there. He will knock.
Oh, off the racetrack goes Kyle Raymond. Raymond is off in the infield. From third there a moment ago, the 912 of Kyle Raymond goes to second and into the grass, and he is out of the show here today.
Unfortunate break for one of our front runners here in the LCQ. He will not make the final later today as it stands as they work through turn 12. A whole group of cards fighting. I'm sure the transfer spot is in there somewhere, Xander.
Yeah, it is a mix right now. Last time by was Jared Dunkovich in the transfer spot. So here comes first and second. Anthony DeCesaro with a nice lead. Then it is Gio Cardone. Side by side there. All the way through. The 991 is off the racetrack and around nearly in front of the field. That's the 991 of Big Ben Lida. He'll slot in line somewhere outside the transfer spot now as he gets passed by one more down to turn number 3. Was side by side for the 4th position. Jake Phillips now catches up to him. That puts him roughly 14th. So 4 spots out of the zone as the major pack heads up the hill. Brenna Schubert right now, I believe, is just in on the purple and yellow all-pride machine in a all-too-familiar spot from a month ago at Newcastle. Remember, she was in the show, Simon, and on the final lap got bumped out of the show to finish in 11th and just barely missed the main.
Yeah, tough break for Brenna back there in Newcastle Motorsports Park, but here at Pitt Race, an opportunity for redemption as they work through the bus stop. A whole line of carts that transfer slot P10 we will be looking at as the leaders cycle across the line. Couple of cart links space out the top 3, but we see that L in cart, the 909 machine of Jared Dunkovich making a pass into turn 1. He is safe right now, but only by a couple of spots, Xander.
Yeah, Jared Dunkovich has not raced a go-kart in probably more than 6 to 7 years. It's been a long time out as the Trinity Karting Group green and white machine of Logan Mueller picks up a spot. Move him to 8th. Move Tristan Altman back to 9th on the Pro Kart Concepts Tony Kart. And Brenna Schubert there on the purple and yellow. Team Pride, Team Ferris Racing, Kart Republic is the last driver into the show. She is under heavy pressure from Presley Whitney there on the Allen Racing LN Kart. Presley Whitney, remember yesterday, was safely speed-wise in the top 30. However, a DNF in one of the 2 heat races has put him into the B pre-final. He is the first man outside right now. Behind him are 2 more. You also have the likes of Gabriel DaCosta in 13th and Ben Lida, who got pushed off the racetrack. He is back there at the end of the train as well, and he's going to go side by side down the inside. That is Lida in the 991. He was having the speed to run in the top 5. He's now the first man out in 11th as this midfield fight continues. Anthony DeCesaro leads. They're side-by-side. Mueller went to the high side on the comp cart of, I believe, Ryan Bierman, or no, Chris Harrower, and could not get by. And they continue to fight as Tristan Altman slips through. Now Mueller's on the verge of going to the bubble spot. Schubert's under fire from Ben Lida as they go over the hill to 10.
And chaos in the horseshoe leads to a chaotic run down the hill through turn 10. Look at that, Ben Lida making that pass work, and he will slot himself into safety just by a 1 spot or 2 here, as that is the transfer we are looking at currently on your screen. The fight for P10 as we work through turn 12 and back onto the front straight. We will complete lap number 5. Still 7.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. Anything can happen, but the biggest thing is staying clean, making sure you're well inside the top 10 and not having to put yourself at risk back here with these drivers.
Well, Brenna Schubert unfortunately finds herself on the outside looking in, but there is a heated battle up ahead between Logan Mueller and Chris Harrower as Schubert tries the inside on Lyda. She gets back by, moves Schubert back into the show, Lyda back out of the show. Harrower up the road, then Mueller, then back behind Lyda again is Presley Whitney on the LN cart, and then Gabrielle DaCosta, all trying to race their way into the main event this afternoon. If you're about 6th on up, Jared Dunkovich forward, even Tristan Altman in 7th. You're probably safe at this point with 6.5 minutes to go. You're going to have to make a heavy mistake or an off or crash or penalty to fall back 5, 6, 7 positions when they're a couple seconds away. So if you're 7th or up right now, you look pretty good. Logan Mueller on back, still in a very dangerous spot. The one on the hot seat once again is Brenna Schubert there on that black and blue Team Ferris Racing Kart Republic with the purple and yellow pride suit. She's got the white helmet of Ben Lyda right behind her trying to get by. She's trying to go to the inside of Chris Harrower's comp cart. Harrower will send it in on Logan Mueller. He'll go 2 back, 3 back. Mueller now is outside, side by side for the transfer spot. Logan Mueller versus Ben Lyda, and he nearly gets into Brenna Schubert, now goes wide, and he gets stuck all the way back. Logan Mueller from 8th to about 13th now. He's outside the show.
Unfortunate for the Trinity Karting Group machine, as he will try and make up those spots. He has been quick so far. Not as much luck out of turn 5 that time. Losing a couple of spots will put him outside looking in, but still plenty of time to get back up into the fight as we see Ben Lyda there going side by side, exiting turn 12. And a great shot of the 908 machine, Tristan Altman, who is fairly safely in at this point, provided they don't crash anymore here, Xander.
So now the battle goes. Brenna Schubert up to 9th. It's Ben Lyda there on the red and white Tony kart versus the blue and yellow Lando Norris cart of Presley Whitney for the final spot in the show. Gabrielle DaCosta looks on. Can Whitney go by? He stays on the bumper of Ben Lyda through, and now they've got to run back down to the next in the pack as Logan Mueller on the green and white TKG Kart Republic sits 12th at the end of that skirmish. Schubert following Chris Harrower, Tristan Altman, then Gio Cardone, who has caught up to Jared Dunkovich. That's in the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. I thought Dunkovich might be safe. He is not. He's under heavy fire. Dunkovich on the BJR LN kart there leads the trio with Cardone there in the blue and white Tony kart and Tristan Altman with the white front bumper on the Pro Kart Concepts OTK. Out of turn 13, this group from 5th on back, all still dangerously too close to the bubble spot, Simon.
Yeah, this is where it's going to start to heat up. The leaders have checked themselves out on this race, but 5th on back is still up for grabs. So all these drivers from 5th all the way to about 15th just fighting to be inside the top 10 when the timer runs out and the flag finally drops on this pre-final LCQ. You see the 908 machine of Tristan Altman all over the back of Gio Cardone through turn 5, as that is for the 6th and 7th spots. Jared Dunkovich just ahead of them, and Chris Harrower and Brenna Schubert right behind. They are safe, but it is the man Ben Lyda who is on the bubble with Presley Whitney putting the pressure on to try and get that transfer spot.
Tristan Altman starting to look a little impatient with Gio Cardone, and understandable as, again, Chris Harrower is closing up, but credit to Ben Lyda. He's been able to keep Presley Whitney in tow, and now they're going to go side by side with Brenna Schubert. Schubert frustrated, motioning forward, saying, watch out, we could catch the guys in front, but as they come down the bus stop and down the front straightaway, just back from this group of 3, you go back to the bubble spot. So through the turn 1 corner, here comes the bubble spot fight. Lyda had to back out. In fact, it's Schubert into 9th, and now Presley Whitney is in, and Lyda is out, and Brenna Schubert trying to hang on to the show now. Here comes Presley Whitney to the bumper as they go into turns 4 and 5.
Yeah, this battle for the transfer, Presley Whitney, Brenna Schubert, Ben Lyda, and a couple others have been the fight so far this race, hovering about that 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th position, and that's just where you don't want to be. You want to be able to get yourself clear, but all this fighting from 5th on back is just forcing them into a constant battle. Still 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps remaining, but they've been fighting hard all race, and I don't expect it to let up anytime soon.
Well, this is good for Ben Lyda to at least get still close enough to Presley Whitney to mount a counterattack. Gabrielle DaCosta is still there. Logan Mueller has faded a little bit further away. His lap time's not good enough to run that pack back down by himself. 2 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Schubert still leads the bubble spot. This is 9th there in the purple and yellow 10th in the blue and yellow LN Kart, and 11th. First man out in the red and white Tony Kart. They are tracking down Gio Cardone, who was up to 6th and is back, but now pass for the bubble spot. The spot above. Presley Whitney goes by in 6th over Brenna Schubert. So Presley Whitney gets through. This is behind the 2 we're showing. We'll go back here in a moment to find where that update is. Here it is. Lyda's gone through as well. Schubert is back out of the show once again. Ben Lyda is back into the show once again with a minute and a half to go.
And I'm sure that's not all that has been wrote for this race right here. Brenna Schubert closing in on Ben Lyda. Those two are fighting for that final transfer spot. This is to keep your weekend alive, to go into the final later today as we watch them come through the bus stop now with a couple kart length at lead for Ben Lyda. As he crosses the line that time, he is 10th with Brenna Schubert right there in 11th, and he is making gains on the drivers in front. That will be Presley Whitney he's starting to catch in front of him, and this fight's just going to keep heating up, Xander.
Yeah, it is not over yet here for Brenna Schubert. She still has time to try and catch back up to Ben Lyda and company. You can see behind her that Logan Mueller had gone around Gabriel DaCosta, so he's got his way back up to the 12th position, but he's the second person out. Schubert, first person out once again. The good news is, even though she goes a little bit sideways there through turn number 10, that the pack up ahead of her is definitely starting to fight here. Chris Harrower is going to come under fire from Cardone, who is also coming under fire from Presley Whitney and Ben Lyda in the closing stages. All 4 of these guys are safely in, whether they know that or not, and if they care or not, to ride where they are and stay well ahead of Brenna Schubert, or if they're going to fight. We're going to find out with 20 seconds plus 2 laps to go. Under heavy pressure is Cardone. He blocked. Here comes Whitney trying to go by into turn number 3.
I mean, if you're down there in the 9th or 10th spot and you're just barely on the bubble, you're probably going to want to try and make a pass or two just to secure yourself in an extra spot. But when you do that, you're going to let Brenna Schubert drive up to that rear bumper. So staying in line so far, but these 3 all grouped together now. If they continue to fight, maybe Brenna Schubert hops back in it and we get a fight at the end for the transfer spot. We see defensive into turn 10 here, Xander.
Yeah, and Cardone still on the inside, Whitney on the outside. Now Ben Lyda pulls alongside. That's the fight. Again, 8th, 9th, and 10th on your screen. This is behind your 2 leaders. Anthony DeCesaro and Matt Darlison have driven a smart race, and they haven't been on camera much, but that's because they haven't done too much. They have stayed hooked up and pulled away from everybody else. Ryan Bierman remains behind them as they lead the way. We're going to stay keyed in on the final few spots to get into the main event as Cardone defends down the inside to turn number 1 to try and hang on to that top position. And here we go with an over-under from Presley Whitney, not able to get it done. And Schubert closes in, lap and a half to go, and here comes 11th. Here comes 12th and 13th. The fight for the transfer spot is on into turn 5.
And look at Brenna Schubert closing right up to the group in front of her. Those 3, like I said, she'll lose a little bit on exit. Not a great run up the hill for Brenna, but still a bit of time to make it happen as these 3 are grouped together, defending hard down to the inside. That's going to let Brenna come back as we see Ben Lyda make a pass into turn 10.
Yeah, Ben Lyda with a nice move on Presley Whitney. That moves him to 9th, 1 spot safe. Now trying to go 2 safe with Cardone and moves the blue and yellow LN Kart to Presley, and Presley Whitney to the hot seat. Brenna Schubert pulls within 2 car lengths. That is the final spot into the show, 3rd of 3 on your screen, but it's basically a pack of 4. White flag in the air, 1 to go. Ben Lyda on the bumper of Cardone, just trying to stay in the race, just trying to make it through to the main event this afternoon. He's got to run to the inside. Cardone knows it, has to give him room. He has to touch the grass. Here comes Presley Whitney. Schubert trying to shove them all through in turn number 3. She'll get in. Cardone is out.
And Cardone going to look for any way he can back in, but he'll get dived to the inside there by Logan Mueller as he works his way into this fight. Now the transfer spot heating up. Brenna Schubert safe and a massive gap out behind. This might be it, Xander.
It only depends if Presley Whitney defends and backs Brenna Schubert up, and he is, as they're still side-by-side behind. Cardone and Mueller, whether they know it or not, fighting for 11th here. Now all they can bank on is if any penalties happen. Meanwhile, up at the front, it is going to go the way of Anthony DeCesaro. He'll win the pre-final B over Matt Darlison and Ryan Bierman, and the final run-through, Schubert is going to turn the tables. A month ago, she was the driver who lost out on the transfer spot on the final lap. This time, she moves herself himself in to that final spot in the show on the final lap from 11th to 10th. Brenna Schubert makes the main. Gio Cardone is out. So is Logan Mueller. Gabrielle DaCosta is out. Ian Morrison, Jake James, Nicholas Mercer, Jake Phillips, Brady Travis, Lavisa Landon, Eric Goldstein, and Kyle Raymond all outside of the main event top 10. Anthony DeCestro again races his way in and is the first of the 10. He'll start 31st in the main later today. But Brenna Schubert able to be the last driver to make it into the main.
A good fight for the transfer spot there late in the race, but all that was from the benefit of Kyle Raymond's early attrition in this race. Unfortunate incident on lap 1 has him out from about P2 or P3 on track, so a tough break for Kyle Raymond. He was likely to make it in, will be knocked out along with the rest of the group. About 10 drivers not going to make it into the final later today. As the results roll up on your screen, it was Anthony DeCestro over Matthew Darlison and Ryan Bierman. Scott Oliver comes home P4, Tristan Altman P5, Jared Dunkovich for his return to karting comes home P6, Chris Harrer P7, Ben Lyda P8, Presley Whitney P9, and Brenna Schubert rounds out the drivers that will make your main later today.
You got to see Scott Oliver picked up 5. Jared Dunkovich picked up a good bit, as well as Tristan Altman. Of course, Presley Whitney had to come from the tail of the field, drove his way into the show. So all from outside the top 10 move their way forward, and the drivers just inside end up, unfortunately, on the outside. So they all go backwards, and we move on. That's 31st through 40th now locked and loaded. Let's find out where the first 30 will stack up for the main event. When we come back, it's the top half of the leaderboard, 30 drivers that have not maybe seen each other since qualifying in KA Stars will line up to go green. So here we go, back to it. It's time to set the top half of the grid. First through 30th after the heat races on their way onto the circuit now in KA Stars. Most of them again split up as they went to groups A and B in after the after qualifying was run with the odd numbers in Group A, the even numbers in Group B. Let's go through the starting lineup here for pre-final A. Oliver Hodgson swept his heat races. He was perfect on the J3 Competition Factory Comp Cart. If we can go a little forward and find our pole man. Then back from him, you have Cooper O'Clair to make it a Comp Cart front row. Row number 2 has Race Liberante on the MPG Motorsports Kart Republic on the inside. Anthony Rivera on the outside. The privateer driver on the Energy, the father-son duo, pulled it in overall qualifying. Back from him to row 3. be, you got Henry Wheeler and James Overbeck. Then it is going to be the likes of Lucas Zabo and Mick Gabriel, Rafe Shaw, Luke French, your top 10. We are all locked in here in this race. Everyone's going to the main event. This is where you start, 1st through 30th. Down to turn number 1, Oliver Hodgson has the field together, and they're going to make their way into the corner nicely. Race Liberante trying to shove his way through to second there, and they all survive the opening corner. Liberante with a nose to the inside to turn 3, but Hodgson closes it off.
An impressive defense to come across the nose of Race Liberante there. Hodgson going to hold the lead, immediately go defensive into turn 5. Race Liberante is going to open the door. He'll get slotted down the inside. Going to lose another spot out of that as the top 10 are still stacked in line, nose to tail. No one crashing yet. It's pretty clean and green up to the top of the hill here, Xander.
Yeah, how about that start from that red and white Mark Steel Motorsports Bureau art of Henry Wheeler? My goodness, what a run forward there from multiple rows back. He's up to second with that slick move on Race Liberante, and the driver doing double duty in OKN stars and KA stars now is locked onto the bumper of the Brit Oliver Hodgson, looking for national win number 2 on the season as he takes him to the bus stop here for the first time in pre-final A. It's Hodgson back to Wheeler, Liberante, Cooper, Eau Claire, 1, 2, 3, 4 down to turn number 1.
Hodgson still with the advantage over Wheeler. We've seen these two go at it, have some great racing throughout the day yesterday. Race Liberante there as well, as he will get dived down the inside. Look at that. Cooper Eau Claire going to make that move on Race Liberante, get his elbows out, and move his way into third position. Race Liberante immediately covers the defense as James Overbeck has arrived on the scene. And along with him, Mick Gabriel there in the back of your frame in that number 923 OTK machine. They work their way across the top of the hill. Hodgson with a 3-kart length advantage over Henry Wheeler behind.
Yeah, Hodgson with a nice little gap. He'll take it out of turn number 11 here. Back from him to Henry Wheeler. Then Cooper Eau Claire. Then Race Liberante. Then James Overbeck. Then you've got the, again, RPM Tony Kart, Zabo and Gabriel before the pack splits a little bit back to Anthony Rivera. Now, as Liberante pushes on Eau Claire, let's see if Eau Claire is going to get a run on Henry Wheeler while Oliver Hodgson starts to pull away. That was a phenomenal opening lap on cold tires, nearly half a second better than everybody. Liberante goes by on Cooper Eau Claire and gives him a little wave, and I think more of a thumbs up to James Overbeck, who also pushes him by Henry Wheeler. So now Race Liberante takes that MPG Motorsports Kart Republic to second.
And all to the disadvantage of the drivers here in 2nd through 5th. Hodgson starting to get away. That impressive cold tire pace, like you mentioned, gets him out to the early lead. He's going to start to check out. A little less draft in these classes than the younger categories, but it's still an air-cooled 100cc engine, so the draft is in play here at this track. They need to stay within range. They are just at the edge of it right now. Race needs to get that pace down to run towards Oliver Hodgson. He's got James Overbeck right behind him in P3. They've checked out from the drivers in 4th, 5th, and 6th. It looks like Lucas Zabo, Mick Gabriel, Anthony Rivera all fighting hard behind them.
Well, that was a good lap from Liberante, 56.7 with a pass being made. If James Overbeck can follow him forward, the two of them might be able to track down Oliver Hodgson. Still plenty of time left, and about a second lead right now back from 1st to 2nd. So as Overbeck tries to close the gap up to Liberante to push him forward, the two of them lap time-wise far better than Lucas Zabo and Henry Wheeler. They have quickly faded backwards down the grid, and all chasing again Oliver Hodgson as he climbs the hill. But no surprise that on the slightly drying but still a little bit damp conditions, you've got an Englishman leading the field around, even to the likes of North America's greatest, like Ryan Norberg, saying, man, when you're running the wet against English drivers, it's basically unfair. Their country has more wet races, it feels like, than dry races. And Oliver Hodgson, all those years growing up over there, then coming to race over here, he's got a bit of a leg up when it comes to a little less than ideal grip conditions. As they head down 4 complete, 56.60 though for Hodgson. Race Liberante, James Overbeck starting to roll. 56.5 apiece for them. That's a 1/10 gain. They're 9.5 back now to turn number 3.
And they're going to start closing that gap. The closer they get, the more that draft's going to come into play. They will close it ever more rapidly as they work through the horseshoe here. It's Hodgson in a group of 2. That is Race Liberante and James Overbeck. And just behind them, Lucas Zabo and Mick Gabriel hooked up together. And Henry Wheeler, who had the early charge at the front of this race, is falling his way down into P6 now, about 7/10 behind the group of Zabo and Gabriel. So a lot of work cut out for Henry Wheeler back down there in P6. As we work through turn number 12, Race Liberante leading James Overbeck, trying to chase down Oliver Hodgson, who is on a run out front. currently. 56.6 last time. We'll see 56.5 this time for Oliver Hodgson. It was a 56.4 and a 56.3 for Race and James Overbeck. So they're closing the gap ever so slightly. Still 7 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. They will work through turn 3 and head towards the horseshoe here.
Yeah, looking a little bit better is the second and third drivers every single lap. They are getting closer and closer to that fluorescent yellow comp cart of Oliver Hodgson as they climb the hill up to turn number 9, and they'll pop that curb quickly and head down the banking into turn number 10. Behind them, the update on lap times, well, a couple tenths off the leader's pace were the likes of Lucas Zabo, Mick Gabriel, Anthony Rivera, and Henry Wheeler. Wheeler, the worst of it. Cooper Auclair ripped out a good lap that time, but he got swallowed by that pack a few laps ago. If we go back from the top 3 for a moment, we'll see that 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th have changed again. Mick Gabriel on that AEM Karting EOS kart has gone to 4th there. He now leads the train. Lucas Zabo on that red and white Tony kart for Ryan Perry Motorsport is back into 5th. Anthony Rivera's on his tail there in 6th aboard the Energy. Then it's Henry Wheeler, then Cooper Auclair, then Rafe Shaw on the BJR LN kart. Here's Anthony Rivera following Zabo forward a little bit. Now he goes by, and the original top qualifier is going to get some extra help as Wheeler goes by on Zabo as well. So now the updated order, Rivera by Zabo to 5th, Wheeler by Zabo to 6th, Lucas Zabo back to 7th with Cooper Auclair, the next in line to challenge as they go down to turn number 10, and we got a red flag on the racetrack. Problems on the racetrack, a crash further back. Where do we have it? It is down by turn number 1. Heavy contact with the outside retaining wall for Garrett Davis, along with the 967 of, I believe, one of the comp card entries, Luke French. Those two drivers, Garrett Davis and Luke French, were 18th and 19th. And as you can see, Garrett Davis, his kart completely upside on the pillows. So we'll take a look at that one. Luckily, both drivers are up and okay. But the Stars officials trying to make sure that everyone involved is quickly attended to in the event that they may end up being injured in any way. So there is Garrett Davis, helmet off, chatting there with the Stars officials. That's good to see because that could have been a very, very nasty crash the way that that kart ended up all the way up onto the blue pillow, Simon.
Yeah, unfortunate to get a red flag out here early in this heat race, but glad to see that, or this pre-final, but glad to see that everybody's okay. Just a few karts stuck in the barriers over in turn 1. Just for safety precautions, going to go ahead and red flag it to get everything cleaned up, make sure everyone's safe, and then we'll get back to racing here in a few minutes.
Thumbs up there from the other driver. That is the Cosmic chassis. Looks like one of the old Racing Edge Motorsports machines. Might be one of the Pro Kart Concepts pilots, judging off the suit. We'll get an ID on that number here as they pass by our camera. So that is the 927 of Michael Mastandria in the Pro Kart Concepts OTK. So just giving the thumbs up. He'll pull forward here right in front of the crowd. And good to see he's okay. Just was the next driver in line to stop. And that's this kind of red flag here. Great news for the likes of Michael Mastandria, who got turned around on the opening lap. Kart doesn't look to have any damage, but he was 15 seconds back from anybody else on the racetrack and 30 back from the leaders. And if we go back green here in pre-final A, which being that we only had 6 laps completed, I don't believe we were at halfway yet. So I would think we would get back restarted, Simon, and this is kind of a godsend, really, if you're a driver that ends up, spun out on turn number 1. Connor Zilish was able to go from last to first at Supernats, but only because a red flag happened when he got to 14th.
Yeah, I want to say this is probably going to be pretty big for drivers like Anthony Rivera and Henry Wheeler. Rivera, your original pole sitter, a hometown hero, not getting the most out of the early stages of this pre-final, finds himself in 6th, about 3 seconds back from the lead. Now this is going to group everyone back up and give drivers like Rivera and Wheeler another chance at catching Hodgson and Liberante out front. Liberante and Overbeck were on a good run catching Hodgson, so this will make their work a little bit easier, but it's going to bring the rest of the field there as well.
So here is, you can take a look at the drivers there on the racetrack. Helmets are off while they continue to check out the carnage and line them back up for a restart there. There's Race Liberante, Mick Gabriel, Lucas Zabo, James Overbeck. All chatting there was Harbier Doss. There's just standing off screen Rafe Shaw on the Fernando Alonso suit. There's Anthony Rivera on the right-hand side there in the Cosmic. What a weekend it's been for Anthony here to this point. And like you mentioned, Simon, this is a great news for him. The unfortunate part is the pass he made on Lucas Zabo. That will get reverted because it goes back to the lap prior. So it puts Zabo there. He's standing in that red and white Ryan Perry Motorsports suit. He'll line up in the 5th spot. Mick Gabriel line up 4th. Overbeck third, Liberante second, and Oliver Hodgson's lead, which granted was coming down, now gets completely erased here at this point. Well, we're going to take a short break here, I believe, while we continue to update the status of the red flag. We will be going back racing. They're lined up in that order. So for now, we've got them stopped on the front straightaway. We'll take a short break in the coverage and come right back with more here from Pittsburgh.
Welcome to Ohio Kart Parts, the Midwest's largest Burrell Art racing go-kart dealer. We carry Burrell Art, Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, and Robert Kubica branded go-karts, as well as parts from names you trust. Chassis components from Freeline, engines from IAME, Briggs & Stratton, and soon-to-be Tillotson, electronics from AIM Technologies, MG Tires, Taika Axles, seating from Tillett, Arai helmets, and 3/10 race products. Visit us online at www.ohiokartparts.com, at our facility in Lorain, Ohio, or at the local track on race weekends. If we don't have it, call us at 440-628-KART. That's 5278, and we will do what we can to help you out.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh International Race Complex here as we wait to get things fired back up. Let's send it down to Alexander Searle here on the racetrack, chatting with Race Liberante, and see if we can get a bit of a status update here, a little mid-race report. Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Xander. I mean, this is kind of a first one here, I think, on Kart Chaser, mid-red flag interview race. Opening couple of laps there, you got a bit used up, I'd say. You know, you worked your way back up to second. You and Overbeck working well together. How would you describe the opening couple of laps for you?
It wasn't too bad. A little chaotic. I left the door open and got past. But other than that, you know, muscled my way forward quickly and was trying to chase Ollie down. He's on one this weekend, but something for him. I was able to pace with him the whole time, and tires just came in, so I'm gonna help the last half of this race and see what we can do.
All right, thank you, Race. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
It's always good to hear inside the minds of the drivers here of what it is like to be in this kind of scenario where, again, you have the race getting going. You kind of get all into the zone. Then it stops, and then you kind of have to lock back in again. Simon, that is nothing that is, I think, more difficult for a driver than to both have to go, get in the zone, get out of it, and then get back in to go back after it.
Not only the mental side, but like we just heard from Race Liberante, he said his tires had just come in. He was about to be feeling really good on track. Now, if they have to reset and those tires get cold, is he on the right pressure to get those tires fired off quickly to take the fight back to Oliver Hodgson when we get going here again?
Well, you can see that race director Alec Coates there is in the infield chatting with everyone. He's got the drivers all around him here to let them know what the status will be for the restart of this KA Stars pre-final A. If you're just joining us now, we're under red flag conditions. We'll pull up the live ticker so you can figure out where your favorite driver currently lies. As we were about halfway through, 6 laps completed in this one before we get set to go back underway. And Oliver Hodgson there at the front of your screen there in the comp cart for J3 competition will suit back up. The pole man who swept both of his heat races yesterday, was able to get away early with the lead with a phenomenal couple of laps on cold tires. He was getting tracked down by Race Liberante there on that red and white MPG Motorsports Kart Republic from second, but the red flag came out when he still had about a 7/10 of a second lead. Back from Race Liberante, he was getting help from the BJR Tony Kart driver of James Overbeck, who will line up in third on the restart. And then luckily, with the way this red flag has come, well, the drivers third, fourth, and fifth, they're going to get a lot of help, like Mick Gabriel there on that AEM Karting EOS kart. Lucas Zabo actually had fallen all the way down to the 7th or 8th spot at the drop of the red, but because it goes back one lap from the previous time to the previous timing loop, he'll get to restart in 5th. Anthony Rivera on that purple and white Cosmic suit on the 921 will start in 6th, the top qualifier from Saturday morning. Henry Wheeler on the Mark Steel Motorsports Bureau Art red and white machine will start in the 7th position. Then 8th will be right there in front of you there on the 929. That's Cooper O'Clair, the understudy, if you will, on Oliver Hodgson in the J3 competition camp. Then behind, Rafe Shaw in the 903 BJR MDR LN kart will roll off in 9th. And in 10th, it'll be the 942 of Mason Surgener, who is on the cusp of a phenomenal run here in Pittsburgh. He lines up to round off the top 10. Let's go further back and continue here. How about the Hotes DD Merlin driver, Lucas Smolik, on back? Then it's Brandon Adkins and Emerson Reed, who was a top 5 finisher over the last couple of Stars Championship races he's been a part of. He's got a little more work to do from 13th. How about the man in the kart chaser suit? The red and black is Emery Lida. He rolls off 14th here on the restart, and with a little more ground to make up. Halfway through the field now out of the 30 has Spencer Conrad there in the 977, and then further on back we go. As you can see, there is Finnegan Bailiff, and the rest of the drivers getting suits on, helmets on, gloves tight, and engines fired. We're getting set to go back racing here in Pittsburgh for KA Stars, and again, we don't know exactly what will be the time reset on the clock, but the drivers will get to see that here on the front straightaway. If we take a pan to our left, looks like 5 minutes and 50 seconds is the time that they will have, plus 2 laps to finish this one out. So this one going to be exciting. They fire off, and now we are set to follow as the field heads away to turn number 1.
And you see an issue there for P5. Is that
Rivera?
That is Anthony Rivera not getting started. A tough break. I'm not sure where that's going to sort him, if he can get it fired back or not, but he had just gotten reset to an awesome starting position, making that gap back up to the leaders, and now he's falling down through the order. I'm not sure whether he can recover that spot or not, but issues getting going for Anthony Rivera.
So there you go. Anthony Rivera able to get back fired up, but like you said, Simon, he's got to hustle. Oliver Hodgson is already in the back at turn number 10. He's ready to get this race restarted. Rivera is going to have to really get on his horse to climb back up to him. Now, the policy for the red flags, it is a single file restart, and it'll be nice and slow like a normal start. They will try to keep the drivers to wait till that start box, but there's no opportunity for an aborted start. Basically, if Oliver Hodgson wants to, he could go right now, but out of respect and the fear of a potential penalty, he'll wait till we get towards the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think the drivers always want to play it a little bit on the early side, try and catch their opponents off guard, but as they work through the last couple of corners, it will be Oliver Hodgson getting set to take this field back to green. After the short red flag period, everyone is grouped back up and ready to race, and there you see Anthony Rivera on the back of the screen getting some of his spots back. He's working his way back up to that 6th position on track. They round the final corner just in the nick of time. He gets there, and Oliver Hodgson down to the bottom of the track and to restart this from the very bottom. A very, very slow start here, Xander.
Yeah, Race Liberante, I think, was expecting Hodgson to be in the middle. He was not. Couple drivers pulling out of line. Now green flag waves, and everybody can go out of line as they're 2x2 further back. Rivera a little bit wide as he gets caught sleeping on the start. Wheeler gets through. Rafe Shaw's got a problem on the left side of the racetrack on that blue and yellow Alonso kart. Rafe Shaw is out. Meanwhile, for the lead, Oliver Hodgson going to block down to the low side in turn number 5.
Defensive immediately through the first couple of corners for Hodgson, wanting to hold that lead until he gets a chance to break out and separate this group into a smaller number of karts. He's got Race Liberante all over that rear bumper, and then a couple kart links back. James Overbeck still there. Liberante showing the pace he had before the red flag, already taking the fight to Oliver Hodgson.
So for Race Liberante here, again, this is what he was waiting on. The difference now, there's a lot more drivers behind him. Here he is on the outside at turn 12. Hodgson runs him a little bit wide. Now Liberante is going to have marbles on the tires, and James Overbeck looking to the inside for second, but he'll cut him a break through the bus stop. And we are back underway. 1 lap completed. Hodgson brings the train down to the inside as they all low line it into turn number 1.
And drivers like Mick Gabriel, Lucas Zabo, Henry Wheeler all back into the conversation now after falling a good ways out of the lead before the red flag. They are back in this top group and ready to fight, as we already see running wide out of turn 3. Hodgson still on the defensive. James Overbeck to the inside of Race Liberante. He'll make that move work, and Liberante falls to 3rd.
Liberante giving way. That was courteous to the Brandon Jarsacrack Racing, Mike Doty Racing, Tony Kart. So now, James Overbeck, what do you got in store? Can you take it to Oliver Hodgson, who has not lost a session since we got into heat racing here? And in fact, he's led every lap so far in the pre-final, and he's pulling away by 2 car lengths out of 11. So Hodgson looking sporty, side by side further back. Mick Gabriel going wheel to wheel with Henry Wheeler. He was able to hold him off. That may have been Zabo going wheel to wheel with Wheeler, and I think he ended up losing the spot. Gabriel still 4th, Wheeler 5th, Zabo back to 6th, then it's Anthony Rivera back behind him. So as Oliver Hodgson gets a little bit of breathing room over the rest of the pack, we watch the rest of the field head on into the corner. Is anyone going to dive there? Nobody does. But up front, oh wow, it got a little tight. Overbeck still on Hodgson. Not able to get by, but he was close there in 3 and close again in 5, continuing to apply pressure.
Overbeck strong through the last section of the track into the beginning of this one. He's been all over the back of Oliver Hodgson. He and Race Liberante obviously showing the pace after the red flag here that they can contend with Oliver out front. He has been the man to beat all weekend, but the cavalry is here. Overbeck, Liberante, Mick Gabriel, Henry Wheeler, a ton of drivers getting ready to take this fight to Oliver Hodgson with 4 minutes plus 2 laps remaining here at Pittsburgh International Race Complex.
Through the bus stop here with that just bit of time left, Oliver Hodgson takes him down low again. Look at Rivera in the background trying to work on Lucas Zabo. And Race Liberante, a slick over-under on James Overbeck. Said, all right, kid, I gave you a few laps. Now I want a shot back at the lead. Mick Gabriel follows. Henry Wheeler trying to follow. He cannot. As Hodgson goes low to block, Mick Gabriel stays 3rd. Single file through the S's as they climb the hill.
Mick Gabriel with a nice move there to slot himself into 3rd. And is Liberante, who is all over that rear bumper of Hodgson coming up the hill. He has gotten there. He's gotten to the lead bumper, and he's even throwing his hand up saying, let's go. Let's get away from everybody. It's too big of a group here in the top 10, trying to space it out just a little bit, clean up the fighting so he doesn't run the risk of falling back to like P6, P7. We've seen that happen before. He will cross over Oliver Hodgson on the exit of turn 12, a rare spot to make a move, and he completes it. New leader, Race Liberante.
For the first time here in racing action, Oliver Hodgson has lost the lead in this pre-final. Does he go back on Liberante? He does not. Oliver Hodgson back to 2nd. Mick Gabriel riding there in 3rd under pressure from James Overbeck. Those two have had quite a few races over the years as Hodgson tries to go back on Liberante. Liberante holds the outside. He's in the grass. Still side by side to 5. Mick Gabriel shoves Liberante through. Henry Wheeler trying to go through. This is going to get awkward as they go side by side, and Oliver Hodgson gets shuffled all the way back to the 5th spot. Liberante and Henry Wheeler with a big gap now.
Henry Wheeler making the most of that one, will gain several spots, slot himself all the way up into P2, and now he is going to try and check out with Race Liberante. They've got about a 5 kart length lead over James Overbeck there in P3. Behind him, Mick Gabriel, Henry Wheeler, or Oliver Hodgson, and look at that, Anthony Rivera starting to make the moves on Oliver Hodgson as well. So Hodgson, who dominated the early part of this race, now finding himself back in P5.
Now down the front straightaway for James Overbeck over Gabriel. They got to get rolling really quickly. We're down to less than a minute plus 2 laps to go. Henry Wheeler, Race Liberante, a 4 to 5 car length margin. What does turn 3 look like? Oliver Hodgson is already sending it. Nice move there for 4th. He gets through. How about Cooper Auclair? Up a ton of spots from going way back on that restart. He's back now ahead of Anthony Rivera. He currently runs in the 6th spot behind Mick Gabriel. So the comp carts 4th and 6th as the field heads up the hill through turn 9 down to turn number 10. James Overbeck, the next driver on the hit list for Oliver Hodgson, as his drive back forward continues to try and complete his sweep of the sessions he's been involved in racing-wise. A winner in Heat 1, a winner in Heat 2, with 45 seconds to go, plus 2 laps in the pre-final. He finds himself 4th, challenging there for 3rd.
And as 3rd of James Overbeck starts to close in to the leaders here, Henry Wheeler and Race Liberante is starting to close back into one top group again. Overbeck getting almost to the rear bumper there, only a kart length back from Henry Wheeler now, who sits in P2, and it was Oliver Hodgson fastest on the last lap, but James Overbeck down to the inside, and look at that, Oliver Hodgson's going to try and follow him through on Henry Wheeler. Overbeck moves himself into P2. Henry Wheeler slots back to P3.
Yeah, Henry Wheeler's speed doesn't look to be too good once they really get going. He's able to really make up some ground on these starts and then the restart as well. But by about lap 4 or 5, he fades, and the field is swarming him. But he goes back on Overbeck to fight for second. This should secure Race Liberante the pre-final win. Overbeck back on Wheeler there into 11. Now Oliver Hodgson gives him a little bit of love as they go through turn number 12. Mick Gabriel, Cooper Auclair, Anthony Rivera onto the back of the train. Race Liberante will come this time by to see 2 laps to go, and James Overbeck has a swarm behind him, but luckily they'll battle for third. Here comes Hodgson inside and clear, and Cooper Auclair catches Mick Gabriel sleeping. He gets through for 5th.
Big move for Cooper Auclair there, as Mick Gabriel is going to lose another spot to Anthony Rivera on the exit. As you see, Race Liberante with a nice gap out front behind him. Overbeck still P2, and Oliver Hodgson's worked his way back up to P3, and it does look like Henry Wheeler struggling a little bit on the pace there. It's Cooper Auclair all over that rear bumper now.
Yeah, Cooper Auclair, the next driver to try and challenge Henry Wheeler. Wheeler knows it, down to turn 10, looking, and not going to be able to find a hold of the inside there for the rookie, Cooper Auclair. Anthony Rivera, fellow rookie, closing up to Henry Wheeler as they go into 12 and 13. Not going to be able to get to the inside there. Single file still, and there goes the rest of the field. How about a couple of other movers and shakers? Emerson Reed's picked up a few more spots off the restart. He's up to 9th. Brandon Adkins up to 10th as the white flag waves. First and second and third are closing up. How about a flying lap from James Overbeck? 3/10 better than the race leader.
James Overbeck certainly quick right now, and he's got that help of Oliver Hodgson right behind him. It's closing up on this final lap. They are making headway into the advantage that Race Liberante enjoyed for the past couple of laps. It is no more, only a couple of kart lengths to separate the top 3 now as they work their way up the hill. A half lap to go. Is there anywhere James Overbeck can make this happen, and is Oliver Hodgson going to take advantage of this?
Yeah, Hodgson still on the tail of Overbeck, chasing Race Liberante as they exit turn 10. They'll head to 11 and now over to 12 and 13. Final time, just not close enough for James Overbeck, but a heroic drive to get back up to Race Liberante. He's going to come just about a lap shy. He'll get a big run to the bus stop for the final time, but Race Liberante on that MPG Motorsports Kart Republic looks like he will fend off the charge to win the pre-final in KA Stars. Overbeck, Hodgson, and look at the swarm. They were 3 wide across the line between Anthony Rivera, Mick Gabriel, and Lucas Zabo, who hits his personal best on the final lap of the race as well. Along with that, you got the rest of the pack cycling on through all the way down to 24th, continuing to finish right there. That was a good run on by for the bunch, but a lot of DNFs in this one, including after that restart. Here's a look at your top 10. Emerson Reed, the biggest mover out of them all. He picks up 7 spots from 16th on the grid to go to 9th. Brandon Adkins picks up 4 to go into 10th, and then 2 gained, of course, for Liberante, 4 for Overbeck from 6th on the grid. Hodgson will still line up safely for 3rd there in the main. Good run forward for Michael Mastandria, Jaden Krause, Harbier Doss. I'll pick up a handful. Emery Lida fell back on that restart. He still ends with a net gain of 4. Massimo Sanchez Lara gain of 3. Spencer Conrad net gain of 2. 15th and 13th. Lucas Smolik, Mason Surgener, and 11th and 12th. And here's all the drivers with the rougher runs in that pre-final. Liam Kerper, Seth Stowe, and then Tanner Bunny on down. Good news again, Garrett Davis was checked and cleared. He is okay. Now we get set for the Pro Stars drivers here to roll things off for the second of the 2 headline, the first of the 2 headline divisions still to run for pre-finals. If you're watching right now live on YouTube, this is free to watch. However, the main events, if you like what you see, are behind the KC exclusive premium membership. It's $9.99 a month. You can sign up by hitting the join button down below. If not, you'll be able to see the races for free on tape delay later next week when they're publicly posted. But if you want to watch those main events, make sure you're a KC member. It'll be only about 40 minutes before they get underway, as we'll go straight into them following the final 2 pre-finals. Again, Pro Stars on grid with a Magic Card lockout of the front row when we come back. Karts coming to life for the Pro Stars division, and it is a Magic Kart USA hometown showing with Talon Yockel returning to his roots, the track where he first ever drove a racing machine. Pittsburgh International Race Complex lived here for a number of years when he got into the sport and pounded laps here week after week because he got in at a later age than most that are able to contend for national wins and national championships at the junior age ranks, the class between 12 to 15 years old. Many starting in the classes we're seeing right here in the micro and the mini Swift Stars from 7 years and up. So to play catch up, he came out here with his father Marty and put laps in almost every single week. He knows this track blindfolded, backwards, upside down, mirrored, and sideways. And it's no surprise that he is as quick as he is here this weekend. But he's joined alongside another driver who's had a lot of laps here in Pittsburgh and a lot of laps over his career. Robbie Bajoso, the co-owner of Checkered Motorsports and the Magic Kart USA squad, has joined alongside his team driver Talon Yockel to complete row number 1. Robbie gets the clean side of the racetrack, Talon the inside. Gavin Bailiff will line up on the inside of row 2 alongside Colin Daly. And then to row number 3, it's the third Magic Kart inside the top 5 in the form of Michael Riccio. Josh Conker on the Vermont Kart Company Maranello will start in the 6th spot. He's been slowly clawing his way up the grid all week. And then it is going to be Justin White on that Kartworks USA SRP Factory Team Maranello. We've got the field set. We go to the lights for Pro Stars, the pre-final with Talon Yockel and Robbie Bajoso. Who is going to get the whole shot off the line? We pop it in first, pull those clutches back, and away we go with a great start for Bajoso and Colin Daly, who goes from 4th to 2nd.
That inside line not getting the greatest jump. Talon Yockel suffering off the line just slightly there. We've seen it work earlier in the week in the inside line, even in the damp conditions, but not able to get it fired off just as quickly as Robbie Bajoso did, who is now your current leader out front. Talon Yockel into 3rd, and a lot of diving moves into the horseshoe early on this first lap. We'll cycle them around. And Colin Daly with an impressive start to work his way up to P2.
Yeah, Michael Riccio there got a bit of the boot from Gavin Bailiff's Trinity Karting Group, Orange and White Kart Republic, back for 4th and 5th, but they've kind of sorted themselves out. Colin Daly still holds 2nd on that DR North America factory machine, and he tries to track down Robbie Bajoso. Now, Robbie's been kind of, from our eyes, a little bit maybe holding back on Talon Yockel when the two of them are around each other, but now they've got Daly in the mix. If Colin Daly gets up to Robbie Bajoso, we're going to get to see two veterans of the sport go head-to-head for the race win here in the Pro Stars pre-final, and we've got plenty of time to see it. 11 minutes plus 2 laps as we put 1 lap complete. And look at that, Gavin Bailiff is wide in turn number 3, way wide for the Trinity Karting Group driver. Justin White gets through for 5th. And Bailiff, I don't know if he got caught off guard, but it looked like he fully locked the rears and went sideways. Meanwhile, Talon Yockel all over Colin Daly, and we touched on it yesterday. He is one of the hardest drivers to pass, but Talon Yockel makes it look easy in turn 10.
It did not take him long. He got to that rear bumper and made quick work after that poor start. Talon Yockel works his way back up into P2. Now he's got to hunt down Robbie Bajoso out front. Talon Yockel's had a lot of pace this week, and I feel like 2023 has been the breakout year for this driver. Talon Yockel establishing himself on the scene, exploding with a couple of really, really strong performances to start this year off, and continuing the momentum here with impressive pace at this Pittsburgh International Race Complex, a track he knows so well. As we work through turn 3, Colin Daly still putting the pressure back on Talon, and behind them it is heating up. Michael Riccio, Justin White closing in on the back of Colin Daly as well.
Let's go side by side down to pit lane. Alexander Searles caught up with Oliver Hodgson. A good weekend so far, in 3rd in that pre-final. Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Xander. Oliver, I mean, I'd say the first half of the race went pretty well for you. The red flag came out, and then from there you got it pretty roughed up, but salvaged a good finish. I mean, how would you describe that pre-final?
Yeah, so the first half of the race, kind of got victory last time we get away with that, and then second half of the race,
Yeah, and I mean, the track has seemingly gotten better and better as the day has gone on. What are the conditions like right now? Is the track, similar to yesterday?
yeah, surprisingly close to yesterday, so I think by the final we'll be very close to yesterday.
All right, thank you, Oliver.
Thank you.
All right, there you hear from Oliver Hodgson as that wraps up his morning half of the day. Of course, a good run for Race Liberante and a little bit of a mid-race report interview, maybe good luck charm that put the MPG Motorsports driver in a different headspace and able to drive away to the win. Now, this battle for third is continuing. Colin Daly was pressuring Talon Yockel for a little bit, but it seems like Yockel's been able to really hit his marks and pull away, and now Colin Daly is under heavy fire. Justin White already got around Michael Riccio. Remember, Justin White qualified second here this weekend. He is looking for third right now on the DR driver as they go down to turn one. Is he close enough? Not this time.
As they work through turn number one, Justin White putting a lot of pressure, like you said, on to Colin Daly. He had already made one pass that last lap on Michael Riccio as they continue to work towards the horseshoe. And here he goes down to the inside. Justin White past Colin Daly. Book it, he's through. As we work towards the top of the hill, Justin White now establishing himself out front in third, is going to go to work trying to run down Talon Yockel just a second up the road.
Yeah, Talon Yockel just a little ways further down. So Justin White gets the job done. Can Michael Riccio do the same? How about Gavin Bailiff at the back of the frame there? Here's Riccio looking not close enough. In his best performance yet in the Pro Stars category, the Magic Car driver continues his development. Bailiff going by there. He's in sixth, lurking on. So as you watch them down the front stretch, that orange and white and green Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic with a good lap that time. In fact, Gavin Bailiff, fastest overall. 52.534 for Gavin. P6 trying to roll towards the rest of the pack here as we approach the halfway marker.
Yeah, extremely fast lap there. Gavin Bailiff recovering from that incident early. A little half spin, a little wide in turn three, but running a quick pace, faster than the leaders. Fastest man on track last time by, but Talon Yockel running down Robbie Bedoso. He was 0.2 of a second faster last time by. Only about a half second separate the two now. The two teammates, the two Magic Karts out front, 1 and 2. Robbie Bedoso, the older of the two, guiding the younger Talon Yockel on their way to cleaning up this field. They've got Justin White, who's quick behind, but there's a gap to make up there. About a second is Talon Yockel and Robbie Bedoso out front. Talon 52.5 last time by, fastest man on the track. Another 10th and a half quicker than Robbie Bedoso as he's quickly arriving on the scene to challenge for the lead.
Yeah, good stuff from the number 2 plate. Talon Yockel trying to continue to build on the championship as they roll through round 3, and his championship contenders, the likes of Gavin Bailiff and Annie Rule, had problems in Newcastle. Josh Conker, Vincenzo Saraceno also weren't super stellar over there. It has been all Talon Yockel here this season when it comes to the Stars Championship Series Pro Star standings, and it'll be an exclamation point if he can really put a whooping on his contenders with those drivers struggling. Josh Conker is all the way down in 13th. Saraceno is out. Not sure what was the deal for the number 1 plate of Vincenzo, but he's off the racetrack now. Might have pulled behind the wall, and if he did, we'll see if we can snag him to see what happened to the Vermont Kart Company Maranello driver. Also off is Miles Danoff, another one of the Maranellos that is out. So this is great news for the boys in blue and orange as Talon Yockel takes them to the infield here. Let's go down to pit lane, and we'll go down in a moment, actually, because this battle's about to go through the roof. Let's see if Talon Yockel can get there as they climb the hill, Simon.
Another 0.2 faster last time by for Talon. Another fastest lap of the race. He is a man on a mission, catching his teammate rapidly. Catching's one thing. Once you get close, these cars are hard to make a move, but he will fly right by. Bedoso giving him way on the inside, lets him go. And Talon Yockel, your new leaders, the two Magic Cards cycle through turn 12, 1 and 2, with a healthy 1.9 second gap over Justin White in that 239 machine in P3.
Well, that'll let us give a moment now as it stabilizes here. Talon Yockel, Robbie Bedoso, Justin White, your top 3. Let's go side by side down to pit lane as OKN Stars get set to go. Alex?
Thanks, Xander. Nate, it's pretty good weekend for you considering you haven't been in a kart in over a year. I'd say you've wiped the rust off pretty well here, rolling off P3 for this pre-final. I mean, how would you describe your weekend? I mean, how your performance has been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We've just been getting better and better, slowly progressing each session, and yeah, we're getting there. Starting P3 for this one, but also huge thanks to the Fox and Sun karting team. You know, they've given me a great kart and engine to be fighting at the front.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't go out for warm-up today, obviously, because, track conditions weren't, the best. Make any changes from last night to today?
I actually did go out and warm up. I got some laps on the wet, scrub a set of tires. But, yeah, we made a few changes, so we'll see how it goes in the pre-final.
All right, thank you, Nate. Good luck.
Thank you.
Alex needs to make sure he's doing his research. What are you doing on there down, Alex? Come on, man.
You see the Magic Karts doing extremely well this week, and they're 1-2 out front. And then we see Jonathan Ocasio and Annie Rule back there in P7, P8 having strong runs as well. Annie Rule, like you said, coming from the back of the field, having a strong run to reset her from a tough day yesterday. We work through turn number 11, and we see that whole line of karts led by Zach Frank. As they come through. There's Annie Rule on your screen as she works through the bus stop, followed by Zach Frank, and then that battle behind of Tegan Poles, David Carmody, and Charlie Steins coming across the start line. 2 minutes plus 2 laps remaining. Still, Talon Yockel out front by about 7/10 over Bedoso, and then a 2-second advantage back to Justin White. So not too much action up front, just a lot of pace for those Magic Karts.
Yeah, so as they go through the infield here, you can see Tegan Poles a little bit sideways, trying to work her way forward, along with David Carmody. The two of them had a collision in heat number 2 yesterday that took them down the order. And Josh Conker, remember, his weekend has been just a rough one on the Vermont Kart Company Maranello, unfortunately. Far from a weekend he'd like to remember to this point. With a minute and a half to go, though, it's a perfect weekend and a homecoming for Talon Yockel. Already had his home race earlier this year at the night fight at Trackhouse Motorplex, but a return to familiar grounds here at Pittsburgh International. And he's got a second lead, as mentioned, over Robbie Boydishow, and then Justin White, a second and a quarter away. The Kartworks USA Maranello driver last time by a 10th better than Boydishow, about 2/10 off the pace of Talon Yockel. It was his personal best, or second best, at a 52.62. Colin Daly, a 52.57, pulled him a little further away from Gavin Bailiff. There he is, the DR North America factory DR kart driver, leading in that red and black and white car, just ahead of Gavin Bailiff. That's 4th right now for Colin Daly. He started higher and really got a good opening couple laps, but he just hasn't been able to have the speed to contend, at least till the very end right now. That was a good last lap. Let's see what this lap looks like at the line. It's still pretty decent, 52.6. Better than Bailiff, a little bit off of Justin White as they've spread apart here in the top 5.
And top 5 maintaining a pretty even gap throughout the group. It looks like Gavin Bailiff, probably the closest battle on track. He and Colin Daly is trying to run up to the Flying Jamaican, but not so much luck as of yet. With time clicking down, we come back to the start line next time. It'll be 2 to go as we see Robbie Bedoiso coming down the hill, chasing Talon Yockel, now out to a 1.2-second advantage over his Magic Kart teammate in that 232, and then another second back to the 239 of Justin White. Coming back to the flag, 2 to go this time by.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. Robbie Boydishow there right in line in second. Just needs to continue to log some laps here, and he'll be safe and sound on the front row once again. Talon Yockel just needs to get a little bit better on his starts for the main event here, because while he has been the fastest driver all weekend, when you average out the lap times, he has far from been the best off the line, and this pre-final has showed the one chink in the armor, with Daly having a phenomenal hole shot, and the same for Robbie. Behind him here, Gavin Bailiff, our top qualifier, also, again, just trying to get better to fire off quicker. In his case, it's not so much about hole shot, it's just about the opening couple of laps. Gavin's really put together a good couple of laps recently, But in his weak point in the heat races was just not being able to get the kart to really be good in those first 4 to 5 laps when the field is all packed together. Arguably the most critical part of the race, especially in the shorter heat race sessions where you don't have time to kind of let the early rabbits wear their tires out. Final lap, though, for Talon Yockel down to turn 3.
And through turn 3 he goes. That number 2 plate, the reigning vice champion of the series, looking to score his first championship this year. Your current points leader works his way through the horseshoe of turns 4, 5, and then through 6, 7, and on up the hill on his final lap. Top of the hill, Talon Yockel, been the fastest man here all weekend. Not so quick on the starts yet, but I'm sure he'll get it figured out for the final. He's got the pace, even if he's not the quickest off the line, to come back through the field and win these things outright. Robbie Bedoiso behind him in P2. Now almost 2 seconds advantage for Talon Yockel. He'll work the last couple of corners, head through the bus stop, and he will take the checkered flag on this pre-final here. A perfect weekend so far for Talon Yockel.
Awesome stuff for the number 2 plate. Robbie Boydishow ends up in 2 seconds back as he slows the pace down in the final few laps, burns up that insurance policy he had of the gap back to Justin White. And no other major changes there as the top 10 look to be all spread apart. A little bit sideways there for David Carmody coming across the line on that black and white GFC karting Rivera Racing machine. He ends 11th, just holding off a hard-charging Charlie Steins. In fact, he got had to hold him off for about the last 5 laps or so, still staying in that order from when we last looked at them. Safik Haddock, the third, Ian Quinn, the last 2 to finish. It was far from ideal for Ian Quinn here in this pre-final, going off and having to get back going on that Macron Motorsports comp kart. And then Josh Conker, Robbie Campbell, Vincenzo Saraceno, Miles Danoff pretty much take the entire Maranello contingent and send them home early as they all DNF here in the pre-final. But Talon Yockel, net neutral, pole all the way through, just needs to work a little bit on that run off the line, and he should have a very easy main event. Good run for Justin White to make up. He's still been playing on the back foot since that jump start penalty at heat number 1 earlier in the weekend. And then there's a look at all the drivers again down the back half of the field. Conker and Saraceno, the number 3 and number 1 plates from 2022 and current championship contenders, having a weekend to forget here so far in Pittsburgh. They'll be on the charge in the main event when we come back later on this afternoon. Still one more pre-final, one more race as a part of your free coverage here at the Steel City Showdown for the Stars Championship Series. It's the OKN Stars getting set to fire off here in a few moments. Here we go as the running starts, kick things off and fire the engines for the OKN Stars main of pre-final, the last class to run on our free coverage here today. For those of you tuning in here online, again, you can continue to watch the main events live in a few moments when that stream goes up if you're a KC Premium member. If not, you can hit that join button down below. If you don't want to or can't afford the $9.99 a month, that's okay. You'll be able to watch the main events on Wednesday next week when they get published after the fact. Back to the on-track action for the single-speed direct drive option. Only the 3rd ever Stars Championship Series event with this class, new for 2023. Brandon Carr gets set to lead us to green. Henry Wheeler had to quickly get out of his car to hop on in. So did Josh Conker. Luckily, it was a shorter run this time with a DNF in Pro Stars. Didn't have to wait on him to roll through the scale line. So they'll make their way out, but he's got a long way to go to get up to Carr and Wheeler. The rest of the first couple rows, well, you got the Fox and Son Karting EOS car to Nate Cicero on the inside, Alex Stanfield on the team GWR Gillard on the outside. Aiden Fox lines up behind his teammate there in row number 3 on the 5th position, and the field will cycle on by the start line. Here we go for OKN Stars. One driver late to get off the grid, but we're green to 1, and what a start for Henry Wheeler as he tries to get to the lead, but Carr releases the brake and holds the top spot. Stanfield gets into 3rd, Cicero to 4th, Fox is 5th, and Wes Ducek on that Modena-powered DR back in the 6th spot. He'll pick up a spot on Nick Terlecki.
Exiting turn number 3 as we work through the horseshoe. Still Brandon Carr over Henry Wheeler. Alex Stanfield there in P3, starting to put the pressure on Henry Wheeler. These three been so quick all weekend. Impressive to see from these drivers in the OKN Stars category. Is Brandon Carr enjoying a couple kart length lead over Henry Wheeler. Alex Stanfield right there in P3, and the field cycles through the last couple of corners. The top 3 just with a little bit of a gap. The fight exploding there for P4, 5, and 6 as those drivers starting to tighten together. We've got Nathan Cicero, Aiden Fox, Nicholas Terlecki, and a whole host of drivers behind them ready to fight.
Down to turn number 1 here. Wes Ducek looking inside. Doesn't go on Nate Cicero. That's for 4th now as Fox is, or for 5th there as Fox has gone ahead. Now he gets the inside, and Nate going backwards quickly here as Ducek takes over the spot into turn number 5. Nick Terlecki still right there. His team owner Josh Holtz on the Holtz DD OTKs. They are 7th and 8th at the end of the line ahead of the MPG Kart Republic of Keegan Bosch there on the red and white machine as they head through turn number 9. Still up front, though, Brandon Carr trying to edge away from the pack as they fight here for 4th on back. Aiden Fox, remember, he was our winner at King of the Castle just a month ago for the round 2 main event. He was close, about where he's running right now through the pre-final and the heat races, and then turned it up majorly in the main. So we'll see if he's able to do the same thing here in Pittsburgh as he slowly works his way down the front stretch under a little bit of pressure from Ducek into 1.
Ducek looking to the inside there, won't commit, but will commit on the exit. We'll get the crossover move out of turn 1, leads into turn 3, but look at that. Aiden Fox back down the inside of turn 3. He'll move Ducek out of the way, and that opens the door. Ducek's going to lose another spot there to the number 82, Nate Cicero, as he established himself well into this group. The fight for 4, 5, 6, and 7 raging on.
Yeah, they'll climb the hill to 9 and then head over to turn number 10. Nate Cicero still close there on the bumper as Brandon Carr's RPM Tony kart gets further and further away up the road. So now the Fox and Son karting machines go back to where they originally were a moment ago, 4th and 5th, with Aiden in front on the orange and blue helmet. The blue and white helmet is Nate Cicero there in 5th. Through the bus stop we go. We'll put 3 laps complete this time. Wes Ducek back to the drawing board. Let's see what he can do down by turn number 1 as the furl black flag goes to one of the drivers in that group there with a kind of a shrug from head flagman Justin Dittrich, Simon.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was pointed to, but he was kind of shrugging like, what was that move for? Not sure exactly which move that was, but we watched Wes Ducek there slide right past Nate Cicero into turn 3. Now Nate having pressure from behind. That is Nicholas Terlecki on the scene as these 4 continue to fight. What a great battle we have so far.
Yeah, great battle indeed. There goes a few more of the front runners up ahead of them. Here is Ducek now goes back to work on Aiden Fox. They are exactly 3 seconds away from the leaders here as they come out of turns 12 and 13.
And as they
just got an update here from the officials. Jump start penalty coming for Henry Wheeler that he's going to have to outrun on that BJR MDR LN kart. So problems for the man in second on the number 18. Henry Wheeler has a 3-second jump start penalty coming his way. He's got about a second and a quarter back to Alex Stanfield right now as he heads in the infield. And Wes Ducek just completely blew turn number 3. Oh, goes to the outside. He's struggling there on that Modena-powered DR.
Yeah, Wes Ducek there with that group of 3. A tough break for Henry Wheeler. I'm not sure how far that's going to knock him back, but that will cost him a lot as Brandon Carr and he seem to be pretty evenly matched. So if it gives Brandon Carr a lead in the final, he may not be able to run down that penalty even across the next race. As we watched Wes Ducek round turn 11 heading into 12, he's now got a few kart lengths over Nate Cicero, who is now again under pressure from Nicholas Terlecki from behind. They work through the final bus stop and complete lap number 5 here at Pittsburgh International Race Complex. You see Stanfield at the top of your screen, followed by Aiden Fox. Aiden Fox starting to reel in that gap just a little bit.
Well, we have Brandon Carr, the championship points leader in OKN Stars, leading here with 7 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Let's go side by side to the pit lane here to our 2022 Pro Stars champion, Vincenzo Saracino, who suffered a DNF here in the pre-final for what is now the 2nd event in a row. He'll have to come from the rear in the main. Alex?
Thanks. Thank you, Xander. I mean, like Xander kind of mentioned there, probably pretty frustrating for you. The 2nd time in a row, got to come from the back in the main. like pretty frustrating weekend as a whole for you, right? Just a bunch of mechanicals and DNFs. What happened there in the pre-final?
Yeah, well, on the first or second lap there, driver got loose in the chicane and just, went through the whole racing line sideways, and everyone behind me and myself had to take avoiding action, and we couldn't go left or right on the racing track, so we had to go avoid him in the dirt, and then, 3 laps later, the bumper broke, and, I had to pull in.
Yeah, and I mean, the pace has kind of been there for you, right? Just the luck hasn't. Do you feel pretty confident for this final? You can move up for a top 5 possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident in my skills and the kart we got, so we just got to hope for a little bit of luck on our side and see how it goes.
Thank you, Vincenzo.
Thanks.
There you go from Vincenzo Saraceno. Unfortunately, there a broken bumper, the ultimate reason for sidelining him in that pre-final. Brandon Carr, still your leader here with 6 minutes plus 2 laps to go on that red and white Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart headed out of turn number 11. The gap back to Henry Wheeler is 7/10. As Simon mentioned, that jump start penalty right now is what Henry is trying to outrun. The good news is he's almost built the gap enough. He would only lose 1 spot and drop into 3rd, which might even be safer than 2nd for the start of the main.
Yeah, that would certainly put him on the inside row starting this final off. But like I also mentioned earlier, the pace is so even between he and Brandon Carr. They're about 0.8 of a second apart. And we see the number 6, Eli Fox, off the screen currently. He has had an issue and is out of this race. So tough break for that number 6 machine, Eli Fox. Not able to go any farther as we watch Henry Wheeler continue to try and run down Brandon Carr. The time so evenly matched every lap. Only a few hundred separate him every time they come by the line.
Yeah, just a little bit separating all of them on through out of turn number 10. Brandon Carr now goes out of 11. It's just been a game of inches when it comes to the lap times. He built that gap on cold tires, very similar to Oliver Hodgson and KA Stars. And then from there, not really had a huge edge on the field, but they also haven't had any kind of momentum their way to close the gap to him by getting faster and faster. They've both stabilized at around the same lap times here within a 10th. That time, Carr sets the fastest lap of the race. It still is only 900ths better than what Henry Wheeler put together.
And it's only 100th better than Henry Wheeler's best lap, which stood as the fastest lap of the race by 0.02 of a second until this point. So every lap, they're just so close, so evenly matched. It's hard to make up that gap once it's established. So he seems to be stuck in that 8-9 of a second range behind Brandon Carr. As behind them, it's still a close fight between Aiden Fox, Wes Ducek, Nate Cicero, and Nicholas Strzelecki has fallen a bit off the back, but look at Stanfield. Now the pressure is on from behind. Aiden Fox has closed that gap immensely.
Yeah, Alex Stanfield way off the last few laps, 53.87. 3/10 off the leaders, if not 4, and 2/10 slower than Aiden Fox, who had his personal best last time by. So the team GWR Gillard is going to come under heavy fire in the final 4 minutes of this one. And his weekend, much like Vincenzo Saraceno and Josh Conker for a championship contender, has been a struggle from start to finish. Alex Stanfield just continuing to be session by session 3 or 4 tenths off of where we expect him to be. We know he's got the ability to win. We saw it last week and just 7 days ago in Amarillo, dominating the field in a battle in KA Senior. And here in OKN Stars, a category that he was battling for the lead and the win at in Newcastle all the way through. He's now here in Pittsburgh, and they just can't find it. As Ducek, that was slick there in 11.
Yeah, he saw Aiden Fox in front of him, eyeing up Alex Stanfield for a move, knew he wasn't looking behind, and slid through in turn number 11. That'll give Stanfield just a bit of breathing room, but it's not just the last couple of laps that Alex Stanfield has been off. He set his personal best last lap at 56.7, where the leaders have been running 53.3s fairly consistently, so he needs to find a couple of tenths if he wants to take the fight to Henry Wheeler and Brandon Carr in the coming couple of laps as they come through turn 3. Stanfield still on your screen, just a little bit of a gap back to Wes Ducek and then Aiden Fox and Nate Cicero.
As the field heads up the hill, let's see if Cicero can close back up to Fox. The 2 team carts there again, 5th and 6th. If Cicero can find any more speed at the end, maybe he can get around Fox as well. Ducek's still there. 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Let's go down to some more drivers coming through the scales in Pro Stars. Gavin Bailiff, again, was decent at the end. Still needs a little more to try and take it to the Magic Boys. Let's hear from him. Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Xander. I mean, Gavin, I'd say that race had 2 big moments for you, right? The start didn't really go your way, and then turn 3 maybe ran out of talent a little bit. Just describe your race to me and what happened.
frustrating. It's the best way to describe it. Riccio got into me on the start. We talked about it in the grid. He said it wasn't on purpose, and just fell back from the start, and then turned 3 on the second lap. I think I must have just ran out of talent, or there might have been some dirt on the track. I don't really know, but went a little wide. Justin White got underneath me, so then I just had to fight back from there.
Yeah, I mean, the pace seemed pretty decent throughout that race. Fell off a little bit towards the end. What do you guys need to get those magic guys?
I think maybe we've just overused our tires a little bit too much in these heat races, and we're just lacking a little bit there. I need a little bit more off the bottom, so we're going to work on some carburation. New tires should obviously help. I think just getting a whole shot and getting the ideal start is going to be the best way for me to get there.
All right, thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
There you go from Gavin Bailiff. Again, the benefit of the drivers in the OKN Stars and Pro Stars categories is they get that brand new set of sticker yellows that we know, being the softer of the two MG tire compounds, have a lot worse degradation. They're also featuring a lot more horsepower in both classes and a lot more weight in the Pro Stars division than the single speed counterparts. So they do have to manage their tires, and some drivers able to do it more than others can see a big difference in speed by the time we get to heat cycle 4 in that pre-final.
Yeah, and certainly on screen during that side-by-side, Wes Ducek has started to take the fight to Alex Stanfield. He made one lunge, fell back just a little bit, and has already closed that margin again. So Wes Ducek with more speed, looking to find a way by the driver that currently sits in third, that number 46 OTK of Alex Stanfield, under more pressure with only 20 seconds plus 2 laps remaining, effectively 3 to go this time by.
Yeah, 3 laps to go. Can Wes Ducek get around Alex Stanfield? He's already proven he's got some guts on those brakes there on that DR North America machine, making some nice dive bombs in the back hairpins, and this would be a prime starting spot. That third place starting position is almost always a guaranteed second place position by the end of turn number 1 in the start. So if Wes Ducek can get that spot away from Alex Stanfield, he could put him in a great spot to challenge Brandon Carr, because Henry Wheeler, even though he got that 3-second jump start penalty, he has long outrun the 3 seconds. It would still put him a second and a half up and some change over everybody else to remain on the front row. So nothing will happen there with the jump start, but for third, this is the battle. Going to cross the line, 2 to go. Alex Stanfield looks back and sees a lot of red and black.
And Wes Ducek certainly laying on the pressure, hasn't dived for a move last lap, but look at that. Stanfield defensive, already 2 to go coming up. He knows this is the time. He's defensive into 5, into the horseshoe. Wes Ducek going to get the better exit, that wider line on entry. Now he's trying to cross him over, going up the hill. He's all over that rear bumper of Alex Stanfield.
Stanfield trying to defend through 9. Ducek almost had a nose inside, now down to 10. Stanfield goes away wide, blows the corner, and Ducek gets through. Here comes Nate Cicero as Alex Stanfield struggled there. The direct drive engine braking there. He had probably never defended in that corner all weekend, and going low, it handles significantly different than the clutch-driven karts like in the KA and X30 classes. Through the bus stop for the final lap. White flag, 1 to go. 3-driver battle for P4.
And Stanfield defensive to the inside of turn 1, feeling the pressure from Nate Cicero and Aiden Fox just behind. They are looking to capitalize on this as well. And just in a matter of laps, Alex Stanfield could go from running P3 as far down as P6 as they round the double horseshoe. Still Nate Cicero and Aiden Fox putting the pressure on Stanfield. Wes Ducek has stretched out that advantage over this group, but out front it is Brandon Carr wrapping this one up with a 1.5 second advantage over Henry Wheeler as they come rounding the last couple of corners. There is Brandon Carr headed to the finish line. The fight raging on between Stanfield, Cicero, and Fox, but around the final corner it is Brandon Carr winning the pre-final here in OKN Stars. A tire in the grass there for Aiden Fox as they come through, and Stanfield holds on side by side to the finish. It's Nate Cicero in front of Aiden Fox for 5th and 6th here, Xander.
Yeah, that was teammates talking about going side by side to the bus stop. Pucker factor to the max for Mr. Fox himself in the Fox & Son karting camp, but I'm sure a good laugh for Nate Cicero and Aiden Fox as they went wheel to wheel coming to the stripe to battle for P5. Alex Stanfield holds on for 4th, and again, Brandon Carr survives the onslaught here in the pre-final to secure the pole in the main. Let's go to the results here as the last driver to cross, Adam Roberts, will cycle through. It's Carr over Wheeler. Duchak up 4 from 7th to end up in 3rd. Stanfield 4th. Cicero drops back to 5th with Fox in 6th. Nick Terlecki looked good early and then kind of couldn't really do much from there. Josh Conker picks up a few from the back. So does Aiden Lorenko. And then Keegan Bosch falls 2 down to the edge of the top 10. Then it's Josh Oates, Miles Hewitt, Julian DaCosta, Roberts, and again we mentioned Eli Fox on the Fury Racing GP kart, a DNF here, and similar story again for him from Newcastle Motorsports Park at King of the Castle, so hopefully they can get him tuned up for more. That concludes the free coverage, though. If you want to watch main events, you can see our first class is already gridded and ready. K100 Master coming to you live exclusively to Kart Chaser Premium members after this.